Yes, good evening, good evening, good evening. I feel like I've lost Stel. I'm so sorry at the moment. I'll have to go through some of these questions in a minute on my own. I don't know where he is. He did say he was joining, so we'll see what happens shortly. Before we do that, listen, an interesting day today. Lots of talk about Paratici for the last week or so, and it does look like he is going to be joining AC Milan. I'm not actually cold. Sorry, people ask me I'm cold. I don't know. I just chuck this on. I don't know. Just put it on. It's nice and comfortable. Looks like Paratici is going to be joining AC Milan. Looks like the deal is going to be done very, very shortly. So it means that Spurs are going to be left with Lang and Ange for years to come. How much fun is that going to be? Look, there's been rumours about Paratici was put a deal on the table from Daniel Levy. Apparently, oh my hat's all a bit crooked, isn't it? Apparently, the bonus that he put into the contract was really bad. It was something to do with must achieve Champions League football, but less than £100 million in transfer spend. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. What I do know is we are now stuck with Lang and Ange going into another season as things stand. And I just can't see how this ever gets any better at Tottenham when we've got shambolic people like that at the football club. Let me know what you think about that. Listen, I'll get into some questions. And if Stel does decide to join us, he does. What I'm not going to do is cancel the show. We'll keep going. Thank you very much for everybody that has taken the time to come in. Please smash that like button. You know the rules. I've only got 24 likes. There's 100 of you in here exactly. Let's smash that like button. And if anyone hasn't subscribed, please do. We're now only 65 away from 17,000. And it, as I keep saying, it feels like the longest 1,000 of my YouTube life. But we will get there. Let's have a look. Big up to Boxing Hotspur 57. It's sad when I read things like this, but it's true, isn't it? So I actually don't care about this club, man. It's not worth it. I watch the games, but I can't make myself care any longer. Look, I'm finding it harder and harder to identify with Tottenham anymore. You know, he's brought in a really bad manager. He's brought in a really bad director of football. I don't know what it is that Scott Munn does. I don't know where the club is going. I don't know where it's heading. And all that they are hoping and all that everyone is hoping is that the Europa League can cover over every crack at Tottenham Hotspur. For me, it definitely won't. Win it, brilliant. Celebrate it, brilliant. Of course, fans deserve a trophy. But for me, it doesn't quite cover over all the issues at Tottenham Hotspur, of which there are many. Slappy Jack said, it's so sad, man. I don't really like my club. I love them, but I really don't like it here anymore. It does feel like that, doesn't it? Listen, I love Tottenham Hotspur, but I just don't like what we've got in place. I don't like what we've got. I don't like, as you know, I don't like the manager. I don't like the director of football. I don't like the fact that all we're doing is buying kids. So I'm finding it really difficult to get on board. But hey, doesn't mean I don't love the club. Love the club. I will always love the club, but I just can't back this regime. I just can't. I find it embarrassing. Let's have a look. Let me start with some questions. I don't know. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know where Stel is. Maybe he's had a nap, fallen asleep, something. Hey, Alexander said, terrifically formulated SAVVA. Of course it doesn't. Would be wonderful to experience absolutely. Listen. Lots of people, I'm still seeing that other YouTubers are making up things that I've said when I've not said it at all. I saw someone yesterday said that I said there's no way that we can beat Chelsea. And I haven't said that at all. I don't think anyone's heard me give any sort of prediction for Chelsea yet. And yet I'm seeing people saying, SAVVA said this. Like, I haven't. I literally, if you want to know something, don't listen to those liars. You ask me. You know I'll be completely open and honest with you. But look, you know, this club's interesting. I want to win the Europa League. Of course, I want to win the Europa League. As fans, we deserve something. But at the same time, it's not going to change my mind on this manager. It's not. Let me go to some questions, shall we? Let me get some questions. And then we'll get there. We'll get into these questions, and then we'll come back we'll see where hang on, I'll tell you what. Yes, mate. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get Dan E to jump on. And it's bloody well needed, isn't it? 1 second, people. Let me get Dan E on. Dan E and I can go through the questions together. Don't know what's happened to Stel. Don't know. Maybe he's there we go. We'll get Danny on. I'll talk for a minute, and then when Dan E comes on, we'll answer all the questions together. I am saving the questions, so don't worry. Any questions I see on the side, I am saving. Gaurav has said, I'm pretty sure that Ange wants to leave this shambolic club and go somewhere better. Well, I'll tell you what was interesting, seeing his interview where he's talking about, oh, there's lots of good replacements for me if they want to sack me. It's like, what a weird thing to say, unless you know you're going. What a really weird... I find the whole Ange Postecoglou thing really baffling. I don't understand him as a man. I don't understand his interviews, his press conferences. Now he's starting to say, oh, we underestimated playing twice a week. But, you know, at the beginning of the season, he said that the squad he's got, he's happy with, and he doesn't see any reason why this squad can't challenge. It just all feels a bit weird, doesn't it? It just feels all a bit weird. Yeah, Lang and Ange, 1 game a week, probably get 10th to 12th next year. I just look at the other big 6 clubs, so to speak, the traditional big 6, if you will. How many of them have got a team in place like Lang and Ange? Like, it just seems so meh, doesn't it? It just seems so meh. Really, really do. What's more embarrassing is that Mikel Merino is only 1 goal behind your top striker. Is that true? How many's Mikel Merino got now? Has he got 6? Because it isn't our top goal. I don't even know our top goal scorer is at the moment. It's been such a bad year. Don't even look at things like that. But let's go. Danny has been called up from the youth team for his debut on the show. I don't know what's happened to Stel, Dan. I don't know what's happened to him, but you're on mute. You're on mute, brother. Can't hear. Can he hear you, man? Yeah, all right, you do that. Big up to Anthony Clark, chucking in a super sticker. Thank you very much, Anthony. Really, really appreciate that. Big up to Craig Lee, who's in the chat as well. Look at this, Arsenal fans, Newcastle fans. Says, Mark, been in the pot with the dogs for 3 hours. Oof, gosh, mine haven't got 3 hours in them. And
right, is that better?
Yeah, there you are. How are we doing, buddy? You good?
Yeah, pretty quiet day. Just had a laid back day for a change. Done absolutely sweet FA, so quite happy with that. So
good. Yeah. Not a lot today. Relaxing one. I've been kind of umming and ahhing about whether to do a kind of goals score show tonight, but I think I'm just gonna big day tomorrow, isn't it, with Chelsea, and show in the morning, show in the evening. So stick with that. But listen, Dan, before we get started, I've got loads of questions saved up. Before we get to those, what do you make about the whole Paratici looking like he's going to AC Milan? Lots of reports that apparently Daniel Levy's offered him a contract, but there was some nonsense in there about a bonus that was only obtainable if he got Champions League football and less than 100 million in transfers or something. Like, are you bothered, Paratici?
Yes and no. Obviously, he's not the best out there, but he's 10 times better than what we got.
Fair. Absolutely fair. It's one of those, isn't it? Like, there's no part of me that goes, oh my God, Paratici. But there is every part of me that says anyone but Lang and anyone but Ange. So completely get it. Completely get it. Look, I'll as you put your questions in, I'll get to them as we go through. But let's see what we've got to start with. Big up to N in the chat. Said SAVVA. He said this time last year that it would be better if we played twice a week. Guy is a walking contradiction. Well, yeah. I mean, yesterday talking about we underestimated playing 2 games a week, and it's like, well, what do you mean you underestimated it? This is a man that's managed Celtic, who played 2 times a week going into the Champions League. Like, this is a man who's been there, seen it, and done it. He should know this. Let's get a first question in, shall we? Let's have a look what we got. Here we go. Dan Payton has said, Dan, evening chaps. Do we think that the batting back, from Levy will spark even more attendance to the protest on Sunday? Is another sign of his contempt for us fans. And of course, I'm guessing he's talking about that cheeky little dig about how fans want us to spend money, but apparently we're doing all we can. What do you reckon, Dan?
Yeah, I think if you just go by how it looks, the first one on paper, well, I say on paperwork, on video and that, looked like there was excess of 2,000 on there. I can judge numbers quite well through a video because I've been to a lot of events where I've seen 2,000, 10,000 people in front of me. And it did look between 1,500 to 2,000 people there. It definitely weren't just a couple of hundred. Mm-hmm. And now that kicks off quite nicely, and we haven't exactly had any good results come in. And now with Levy having that little dig at people, basically, it wouldn't surprise me if more people just thought, do you know what? They all went last time. I'm going to go this time as well. And then it could escalate from there. I think you'll see more people there this time.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, it certainly seems like a lot of people are talking about it. So hopefully it is. But it did seem really weird, like the timing of bringing out that statement. Very mixed messages for me in there, Dan. You know, it almost felt like a firing shot at Ange, doesn't it? Of like, hey, we're in the Europa League. You know, we've got to win it. It very much felt like that to me.
That as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, thank you for that question, Dan Payton. Let's get into Marios has said, if we win the Europa League, how many percentage of the fan base will still protest for Levy out? Dan, I mean, if we win it, if we win the Europa League, does that then water down the kind of, the kind of bargaining position of protesting?
If we won it, you've got to give him a little bit of credit, and you've got to give Ange a bit of credit for the sheer fact of they get slammed all the time for fair reasons. So you've also got a credit for fair reasons. It have finally got someone who got the job done. But it's going to take more than one season of, if we do win that cup, it is going to be by bloody luck, to change 25 years of history. And unless we do something for, say, 3 seasons on the trot, and we see an improvement in players we buy and whatever, I think there's too much water under the bridge.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, right? Because picture this scenario, and that's all we do as Spurs fans, isn't it? Have you noticed we just completely talk in hypotheticals all the time? Picture this, right? Everybody, here's the protest plan. Okay, cool. Here's the protest plan. Right, everybody, it's 4 days after we've won the Europa League, or it's the next game after we've won the Europa League, which will be the biggest trophy we've won for 40 years. I just don't know whether it's going to be faced with a lot of backlash from people. I don't know. I don't know if that would be the right timing, but hey, I don't think we're going to win the Europa League, so we will see either way, mate. We will see. Hang on. I'm just Stel is on his way. Lubo's going to come on as well. We'll just turn it into a panel show, Dan. Sod it. Hang on. What's Ian's email address? Ian's old school. Ian wants me to email him things. There we go. Listen, it's a very interesting one. I'll get Ian and Stel's take on that in a minute as well. But let's have a look at this. Graham, again, sorry. So my question is that this weekend's protest would have been bigger than the last. Now, after Levy's FU to fans yesterday, do you think it could be even bigger? I mean, look, we've kind of answered a couple about protests, but do you see the protests growing bigger and bigger and bigger? Or do you think that's dependent, Dan, on new manager, new director of football and who that is? Because I think if people saw the manager that they want come in, if they saw the manager they want come in, hello, Stelios, 21 minutes late. I mean, detention, see me after class. If fans, Dan, saw a manager they wanted come in and a director of football they wanted come in, would that stop protests? Or are we too far down the line for that now?
For certain numbers of us, like I said, there's too much water under the bridge.
Yeah.
But if we had 3-4 solid seasons and we see increase in everything, I think people could put things aside a bit easier.
Yeah.
But again, for me, with some people, there's just too much water under the bridge, even if we don't win the league for 3 years straight.
Yeah.
Some people are just at that point, they want him gone no matter what. I am one of them. Whereas if he goes and gets cuts consistently for the next 3-4 years, puts more money into the team, gets better manager and that, yeah, I can sit back then and say, do you know what? Fella looks like he's learnt his lesson. But it's going to take more than winning the Europa Cup to change my opinion on that one. But I think there'll be some people who would literally change their opinion just like that.
It's interesting. I mean, look, Dan and Lubo and Stel, welcome. We've made it into a panel show here. But guys, the questions we've had so far have very much been around the protest. One of the questions was, does winning the Europa League change the stance of the protest? Does it water it down? Other people asking about, Levy's kind of FU to people this week in his statement, the whole kind of, hey, I'm right, you're wrong. We do spend money. I can't do any more than I'm doing. What do you guys make about this, about the protests, about Levy's involvement winning the Europa League? Does it change it all?
Hope not. I hope not. If we win the Europa, for me, it's 2 trophies in 25 years, which is marginally better than 1 in 24. It's still rubbish. It's still crap.
It's 50% better, isn't it?
Those are the facts, aren't they?
Yeah.
Marginally better. So for me, he's got to go. He has no interest in football and success. If we get there, it's because we'd have had enough moments in the next 5 games to have won the Europa somehow. But it won't be through Ange and it won't be through Levy. Sometimes people get lucky. Sometimes people get lucky. You can't look at Newcastle. Eddie Howe drilled, coached the team, brought in good players. They play a specific way. They thoroughly deserve to win it. You can see where Newcastle are going. They're in an upward trajectory. Yeah. They're going well. They'll strengthen the team. They'll get better and better. Spurs win the Europa. There's no guarantee that this will happen next season at all. Have a look. Ian, Dad, sorry, let me just finish. If you look at the points total, the points gap between Spurs and the champions, last season, after 10 games, we were 2 points clear at the top.
Yeah.
And by the end of the season, we had dropped 27 points on Man City, and we finished 25 behind. If we carry on the same trajectory, our points average-wise, for us and Liverpool, at the moment we're 36 behind. And if you work that out over 38 games, it might not be exact, but give or take, we're going to finish 47 points behind Liverpool. So we've gone from 25 points last season with City to 47 points this season with Liverpool. If we carry on that trajectory, we'll get relegated. There's no question we will be relegated. If we carry on dropping off against the points gap between us and the champions, if it carries on going the same way, we've got serious shit next season coming. So
yeah, well, we'll get to next season. There's a few questions about next season. We'll get to them in due course. Stel, before we wrap up this part of the show, as somebody who's been very heavily involved in the protest since day one, what would you say to somebody that turns around and says, well, Stel, you're crazy. Why? Sorry, Stel, why are you protesting? Why are you and Daigle and Change for Tottenham protesting? We've just won the 2nd biggest trophy in Europe.
First of all, Sorry, everyone, that I'm late. Apologies. I was at the chiropractor. I go once a month, and I've had this pain all here for the past 2 weeks. I've been in agony with it, and I asked the chiropractor to look at it. And it turns out I've been walking around with a dislocated rib in my back. It's just anyway. He cracked it back into place, and I've just been screaming my head off. I've been screaming my head off for 5 minutes. I forgot I was even meant to do YouTube because I couldn't believe it. Anyway. That said, what's your actual question about the protest? Sorry, sir.
Oh my gosh! Essentially, someone comes to you and says, "Why on earth are you protesting? We've just won the Europa League." Does it water it down? Does it make the protest look a little bit nonsensical if it's off the back of winning a European trophy?
Right. So there's two avenues here. Does it make it nonsensical? No. But I've said and I maintain the protests are results driven. If we lose to Chelsea, which we probably will, that's what history says, or even if we draw, it's more points not on the table, then it just makes more people say, I've had enough. You know, I've received an email a week ago asking for season ticket money. We've had the financial results that have come out, which are, and Daniel Levy's pathetic statement that even Simon Jordan is now questioning. There's a first. And it's just winding people up more. If we lose to Chelsea, it winds them up more. And people say, do you know what? I will go to the protest. If we beat Chelsea and we get to European finals, people won't protest in numbers. I've always felt that results drive the protests. That shouldn't be the case. You know, this season, even when we were winning games, I was adamant, I'm not having it. And you can ask Lubo. He was on the show where he asked me, am I okay? Am I, is everything all right with me? We've just won 4-0 and you've got an issue. For me, I want them gone. I want them out. I don't care what we win. They're a disastrous ownership, regardless if we win the Europa. But for most fans, I feel, when it comes to protesting, because the question's about protesting, if we win the Europa Cup, I believe Levy out, Enoch out is dead. I believe it dies. And it will only come back in a couple of years' time if we're in the shit again, mid 14th, 15th. And that's just the nature of fans, because if you win if we win the Europa Cup, it'll be our first trophy in 16 years. It'll be our first European trophy in 40 years, and we're back in the Champions League. In the eyes of the football club, they can look at the fans and say, what the fuck do you want? Look what we've just given you. And the reality is, it's very difficult, very, very difficult to argue that. We can say, yeah, but hold on, 25 years we've put up with it. That doesn't cover up what you failed to do for 25 years. It shouldn't have got to this. But that argument, I think, will die so quickly if we win the Europa. So for me, if we win the Europa, I think the protests are dead. That shouldn't be the case, though. That shouldn't be what happens, but I believe that's what will happen if we win it. But we're not going to win it, so it doesn't matter. The protests will carry on. We're not winning the Europa, people. It's not happening.
We'll talk about this a bit later. Before, let me get the questions in. Sort of super chats will take precedence, just so we know. Anthony Clark, big up to you. Anthony reminding us as well just now that Mikel Merino now has just one less goal than Dominic Solanke. Mikel Merino isn't even a centre forward. Fun times at Spurs, Anthony. It's fun times. Thank you very much for that. Let's D&B forever. Always with his super sticker. Look at some of the players in that thumbnail. Not a bad group of players there. Thank you very much, D&B forever. A user said, question, reports on Arsenal and Mikey Moore. Stell changed. I think they're two separate things. Stell changed into Danny, I think is what he was saying. It's just Stell was late. Guys, I've seen a few people mention this, but I haven't actually seen anything myself. A lot of people are talking about Mikey Moore and Arsenal, and I can't see any legs in that. Can you? Or does anyone know what this is about?
There'll be murders if it happens, mate. There'll be murders.
Would it be like Sol Campbell, but on a lesser scale?
I think it'll be worse.
Do you think?
Yeah, because after Sol Campbell, that can never, ever happen again. So if it happens again after it already happened, you know, what's that saying? screw me over once, shame on you. Screw me over twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
I think it'll be worse. And the reason it'll be worse is because he's one of our own. It'll be worse if he goes there and does what Sol Campbell did and wins trophies. It'll be worse, in my opinion. It'll be a lot worse.
Dan, Lubo, have you guys heard about? I've not heard about this, so I don't really know. What is the rumor that Arsenal are going to offer more a contract, or what's
well,
the?
It came out the morning of April the 1st, so it came out about the same time that I put out that rumor, Sava, that you were heading up the Archie Gray fan club.
There'd be uproar in the Lubo household if you were removed as the head of the Archie Gray fan club.
I'm sure you do a very good job, mate. I'm sure you would.
You'd have
a week for an exclusive, wouldn't you? Hey?
Unbelievable. And I've seen, by the way, in further down the line in this show, I've seen a few questions about our youth, and I'm thinking, oh God, I can't wait till we get to that question. Lubo will be all over it. Danny, there's nothing in Mikey Moore to Arsenal, is there? That surely can't happen, can it?
If we don't know him, we don't know what his mentality is like or anything. Spurs are not exactly treating him well at the moment, but on the other aspects, he's still a 17-year-old. Is he 17, 18?
17, is he still?
I think.
Yeah, he's 17.
Okay,
17,
he's 17, so maybe he would need to sit down and wind his neck in and know his place a little bit. But if he gets offered game time and at a club that is definitely more likely to win something than us, with ambition, who could actually blame him if he did that?
Yeah.
Not that I would want it to happen, and not that I would like him for it, but
I can't see Arsenal wanting Mikey Moore anyway. I really
I don't
can't.
see it happening either.
Not see it happening. I just can't. Where are we? Listen, get your questions in, but I might not be able to get to all of them. This next, thank you very much to A User for that. A User came back in again and said, surely the team we currently have needs refreshing. Will they allow Ange to refresh the team, or will this be on hold for a potentially new manager? I mean, guys, I thought that everyone was waxing lyrical last year that we did refresh the team. I was told that Ange bringing in 16, 17 players over the last 2 years was refreshing the team. The deadwood's gone, I was told. Everyone's celebrated. Another refresh? What does this even mean, guys? Do we need another refresh? Or do we just need a new coach?
We need a start, that's for sure. We need a coach. And with what we got, it was hardly a refresh, really, was it?
We don't need a refresh. We need a new manager and to sign 3 or 4 very good players for key positions. That's what we need. We don't need a refresh. We've got the nucleus there. We've got youngsters that can be developed. We need to sign 3 or 4 very, very experienced players, which is what we thought we were going to do last summer. That was the fuck up. And that's what we need. We need a new manager and 3 or 4 very experienced, well-known players. That's what we need. A refresh is an absolute... refresh is making excuses for Ange's failures.
I agree. I mean, Lubo, I find it quite funny. Like when we have not me and you, when everyone has the conversation of a new manager, football fans in this era always assume that a new manager means a new project, a rebuild. What happened to the days of a manager coming in and implementing his own? It doesn't have to be a project. The manager coming in, working with the players he's got, adding 1 or 2 and carrying on. Like what Harry Redknapp did mid-season, like what Conte did mid-season. Why does everything need to be a refresh and a rebuild?
I think a lot depends on the players that you've got at the club. Spurs, when Ange came in, he had Poro Udogie, who had been bought for Conte, who play in a completely different style.
Yeah.
So you've got a team there that basically is better. We're not selling Mikey Moore.
Yeah,
let me make that clear.
It was just a question.
We're not making he's got 2 years left on his contract, and that came out on April the 1st. So, April Fool's Day and all that. Mikey Moore is not going to Arsenal. We got a team there that should be 3 at the back with Porro, Udogie, or Spence. You got 3 wing backs there who would do a very good job.
Yeah.
The team, the squad we've got there is built for a 3 at the back. Whether you play 4 or 5 in midfield, 2 up front, you play a 3-4-1-2, whichever you want to do, 3-1-3-3. That's what we've got. So it does depend, depending on the manager. And this is what I said the other day. If I'd have come in, in the year 2000, if someone at Enoch had said to me, Lubo, Levy knows sweet FA about football, will you come in and take the reins? I'd say absolutely. And the first thing I would do, I would have gone to Ajax. I would have
made Archie Gray captain.
No, not in 2000. Not in 2000.
Gray's on corners, set pieces, penalties. He's captain. He's doing all the media.
And I would have looked at how they run their club. Yeah. They've brought in, like Bayern have had. I think they've had Beckenbauer, they've had Hones in there, they've had ex-pros, top pros. Ajax have had Bergkamp in there, they've had Overmars in, etc., etc. And I would have set up the football team. If you talk about the Spurs way, it's the Bill Nicholson way, which is 60 years ago. So, but if you just want to sort of fine-tune that and just say, fine, we want to play attractive football, sensible attractive football, pragmatic at times when we have to, but we're going to look to put on some style and win with style, which is what Billy Nick and Danny Blanchflower always talked about. You then set up the team, you set up the whole thing to play that way, right the way through the club, from academy up to the first team, and you carry on. And if it doesn't work with a specific manager and you replace that manager, then you bring a new manager in who is suited to playing the Spurs way, so that it doesn't change. So the players you've got coming in are pretty much suited. What happens with, Jose and Conte came in, they had players from, Conte came in, he had Jose's players, Poch's players, AVB's players. I think there were 1 or 2 players that were there from Harry Redknapp. It was ridiculous. You had 4 or 5 different managers' players, and a manager has got to come in and then try and put the whole thing together, and then play a system that suits the players that are there. Well, look at the amount of different styles that our different managers over particularly the last 5 or 6 years since Poch, they're all playing a different style of football. So the next manager that comes in, hopefully, will play with a back 3 and wing backs. If not, then you've got to be looking at bringing in another fullback, because you've got Porro. I would get rid of if you're going to play a back 4 and play it differently, then you've got to replace Porro and Udogie for me. Grey on their shirt. And
number 1 is Archie Gray, and number 2 is Archie Gray. Remember, that was the Georgie Best song, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That all the way through to number 11.
Yeah.
Look, I make you right.
It's a problem.
It's a massive problem. Look, let's get to another question. Let's just do these at random. Math Tux. Good name, Math Tux. Love it. Says, as the majority of the fans are happy with our current situation, don't we deserve to be where we are? Now, I'm guilty of saying this a lot, guys. I'm guilty of saying, got the team you deserve. But there are a lot of people, guys, that are very happy with this. So don't they deserve to be where we are? They're happy with the chairman. They're happy with the director of football. They're happy with the manager. They don't seem to care when we lose games. So, Stel, I'll start with you. Do we have a section of the fan base that deserve where we are?
100%. 100%. They've got the club they deserve. People that have defended Levy and Enoch, putting business and finances ahead of football. This is the club you want. You've got it. Stop moaning about it. Stop complaining. Stop blaming other people. the chairman, the owners have been here for 25 years. At some point, they need to take accountability and responsibility for the business that they own and the results that it creates on the field of play, because they appoint the staff to get the footballing results and develop the players. After 25 years, if they can't get that right, then you need to just accept what you've got, which is crap. You can't deflect away from that anymore. The game is up. And whatever excuses have been made, well, you know what? Newcastle are winning trophies now. So there's no more excuses. As for those fans...
If Man City still, if Man City don't win the FA Cup, you're going to have another new team winning a trophy, aren't you? It's going to be either Forest... I mean, Man City could...
Forest,
well go
Palace, Villa. Yeah, absolutely. And then what? And all of those teams... well... If Palace were to win the FA Cup, they are, what? A fraction of the size of what Spurs are. Historically and financially and fan base size. It's unreal. But let's see what happens. So, yeah, they've got what they deserve, because this is what they wanted. And at the same time, the fans that all boosted the transfer window and said stick with Ange, process, and everything we've been arguing, discussing, listening to for a whole year, This is what you've supported. This is what you told us would come good, and now it's not, and all hopes are resting on the Europa. Well, all hopes were rested on the Carabao Cup. Then it was the FA Cup. Then it was, well, we can still close the gap and finish in the top 7. That's gone as well. Kicking the can down the road. So, unfortunately, yeah, fans have got what they deserve, 100%, because we've been saying things need to change, whether it's manager or owners, for God knows how long. So,
Dan,
where do you want to go with it? Where do you want to go with it? People that have defended this, where do you want to go with it?
Yeah.
What do you want?
I completely agree, Dan. I'll ask you the same question, but with a slight twist. I mean, in terms of, there are people out there that say just get behind the team, and I get it. If that's how people want to support, but that for me doesn't really do anything. Like, the whole just get behind the team isn't the reason why Spurs are an utter mess. I don't believe it is all the fans, but that then contradicts what I say about fans who do like this have what they deserve. What's your feelings on it?
I think the word support, a lot of people see it in a different way. Like I say, I support Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, not Tottenham Hotspur Business, not Ange Postecoglou, not Son, not Harry Kane, not Romero. I support the club, and I want that club to win and what is best for the club. Do I really give a shit about the players? As long as they play well for Spurs, I couldn't really care less. And in that aspect, we're meant to, even when a manager is doing crap and the club is doing crap and everyone is doing crap, we're meant to still blow sunshine up their arse, basically. Yet we're meant to keep our mouth shut when it's not going right. And we're just armchair supporters or negative when we can sit here and spot that something isn't actually right on the pitch. I suppose it just comes down to what people call support. For me, when you support something, you want it to win. You don't just be happy with it and get behind it when it's blatantly going downhill. That's like your daughter going and getting with some fella. You can see he's a complete wrong-un, but your daughter likes him. Do you know what? Just because you like him, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and whatever else. No, I bloody ain't. I'm going to get involved because I want what is best for my daughter. It's just an example I can give.
Yeah, and I hear.
Dan, can I just jump on that a second, right? Because that's a great point. And this is where a lot of these idiots online and in our fan base need to just either shut their mouths or stop pretending they're Spurs fans. If you can see that there's a problem, i.e., my daughter's with the wrong one, I'm not going to stay quiet because I want what's best for her. If I can see there's a problem at Spurs, I'm not just going to say, oh, I'll support it when I know it's a problem. Example, we all said, do not play Oliver Skip at left back against Mohamed Salah. We all said, don't do that. No, you don't know anything. Just support your team, get behind them. And then Salah destroys Oliver Skip. Liverpool beat us. But hold on a minute. This is what we were trying to say, because we want what's best for the team. Because I want Spurs to win, and I can see that potentially there's a problem that can be rectified. It's not being rectified. I'm identifying it to see if fans can maybe force a narrative to fix it. If I can see that the wage bill stinks and it's hindering Tottenham, and there's enough data over 20 years now to say there's a direct correlation between wages paid and footballing success measured by trophies, not financials, then I'm going to talk about that. Don't tell me, oh, just get behind the team and be because I want what's best for the team and because I support Tottenham, I'm saying this has to stop for us to be successful. And this is where Spurs fans need to just have a reality check. Supporting the team doesn't mean you say yes to everything. I'll give you a great example. You can be a Labour voter. You're a working class, socialist-minded person, right? As opposed to a more business-minded, conservative, money-driven individual. So you vote Labour. That doesn't mean everything Labour does. You say, I'm happy with that. I'm really happy that they put national insurance up. I'm really happy that they've taken the fuel allowance from the pensioners. I think it's great, Labour. Just support Labour. No, you're going to say, guys, what the fuck are we doing? Stop that. That doesn't mean you don't support Labour. It means you don't like some of the things they do. And that's because you want what's best for the party. And you get it? It's the same with being a Spurs fan. I want what's best for Spurs. So I'm not going to accept Timo fucking Werner. I'm not going to accept Brennan Johnson for £50 million as the answer. Sorry, guys.
Exactly.
That's because I support Spurs. And that goes back to
example.
And the bottom
example I'll give is just a quick example. You're living with your other half. You've got 3 kids. You're living in a 1-bedroom flat. Do you just shut up and be happy with what you've got? The fact you've actually got a roof over your head? Or do you actually go and do something about it and kick up a stink about it because you want a 3 or 4-bedroom house?
Exactly.
You want what's best. A lot of Spurs fans are happy with a 1-bedroom flat and 3 kids.
They're happy supporting rubbish players and saying, yeah, they can do the job when they fail every week. We've lost 16 bloody games.
But the bottom line is, guys, that we're on here because we care.
Exactly.
Yeah. And never forget that. That's the bottom. If we didn't care, we wouldn't be on here arguing, whatever.
But Ian, if we were winning trophies, if we were challenging for top 4, if Ange Ball was really good and defensively resolute, if we were hard to beat, if we signed players that we said, bloody hell, that's a good signing. If these things were happening, we could tolerate one crap transfer. We could tolerate the odd loss. But the thing is, when it consistently everything stinks, you can't just sit there and go, just support the team, just get behind the shit, just enjoy the diarrhea. It's great.
That's the problem.
How?
Another Spurs fan actually described Ange Ball perfectly this morning to me. He said, it's like the drop ball shot in tennis. He said, when it comes off, like the 3rd goal Spurs scored against Alkmaar, it's fantastic. But how many times have you got to play that shot before it comes off?
No, you're absolutely right. It's chaos. Sometimes chaos wins. Sometimes, right? Sometimes chaos is so chaotic it confuses your opponents. Most of the time, though, these top managers have worked it out. But listen, let's get to the next question. Big up to Ayuzu put in another super chat, and he said, "F the cup, protest to drive Levy and Ange and the board out." Listen, Ayuza, I think everyone will be very happy if the board and Levy and Ange were all to go, but I just can't see that happening very soon. But thank you so much for your super chat. Go for it.
Can I just say, Ayuza, it's not fuck the cup. We need to win a cup. Listen, I'll tell you now, I would rather win the Europa Cup. If that means Levy stays another year or 2, I would take the Europa Cup. I 100% would, right? But do I want Levy and Enoch out? Yes. But if you gave me a deal today, you can have the Europa Cup this season and that trophy and that parade and that day out, whatever it may be, what we get, and that moment of when we score the winning goal, what it feels like in the pub or wherever you are, I would take that. If I had to give up Levy being here for another couple of years, I would take that. I want to make that clear. And I'm a staunch Levy and Enoch outer, staunch. So I don't think every Levy outer would agree with me there. I don't think they would. I don't think Brian Daigle would. Actually, no, he might. You know, Brian would probably agree. But
well, look,
what would you guys do?
Listen,
I think trophy, but Levy stays for 2 more years, or no trophy and Levy out at the end of the season.
Still, for the sake of the team, we need to win a trophy because we've got to start attracting better players. As I've said before, the players we need to buy, they're all financially independent. It's not about the money. It's about ambition. And if they can see here's a club that's just won the Europa League and they're back in the Champions League, different dynamic in the summer with players looking at joining Spurs completely. Or you go out 2 weeks tonight, 2 weeks tomorrow. We're out. We could finish 17th. And all of a sudden, people are looking. Spurs are going after players having finished 17th, and players are looking at it thinking, this doesn't look so great, does it? 17th up to wherever, 4th. Hell of a jump.
It all depends, doesn't it? Like, still, if you guaranteed me, it's like with any of these hypothetical questions. If you guaranteed me we win the Europa League and he stays and it's 2 more seasons and he's definitely going, cool, right? But if you said, I need to then have Levy for another 5-10 years, because my worry is, listen, we're all going to celebrate like mad if we win it. By the way, I'll always caveat with, I don't think we are. I've said since day one, Lubo, you know this. I've said that I think Bilbao are going to win this, and I think they're going to win it convincingly. And the fact that they've got the final at their own ground as well. But my worry is this, is that if we win it, great. As fans, we all deserve it. But my worry isn't about us fans. We can all have the childish shit, right? Of you don't deserve it because you don't like Levy and you didn't back Ange and you can't celebrate and all that nonsense. But when all is said and done, what I actually care about, guys, is does it make the likes of Lang, the likes of Ange, the likes of Levy turn around and go, all is good? We're justified for the way we play. We don't need a number 6. We don't need to be better defensively. We don't need to go and buy senior pros. That's my worry, is that it will paper over every crack.
They're going to have to. They're going to have to go and get those players because we'll be in the Champions League and we ain't going to be playing Efesborg, AZ Alkmaar. We're going to get our asses served on a plate in the Champions League. So they're going to have to up their game or we'll crash out the Champions League early doors and then the resentment will start all over again, which is why I said they get a short grace period. But look, even if we win Europa, that's 2 trophies in 26 years. That's unacceptable still. That's still unacceptable for a club like Spurs. So I'm just prepared to give a short grace period because I've always said to myself, and I've said on every stream and every show, I only want trophies. That's where I'm at. The performance is shit, but we get a trophy at the end of it. It's justified. So if they get a trophy, there is some justification. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but for me, there'll be some justification. How long that lasts the following year and the year after, I don't know. It could go off. Di Matteo won the Champions League. 4 months later, he was out of a job. It could turn very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, there's no guarantees. But I just feel that just on this Levy thing and the Europa, because a user said, fuck the cup. For me, it's not fuck the cup. If you win the cup, I'm coming from a place where I feel if you win that trophy, there's got to be a little bit of grace period for the manager, chairman, but a little grace period, not long term. It's got to be short because we can't forget we're 14th and we crashed out the cups. We can't just forget that. Can't forget the performances not being good enough. We can't just dismiss that.
Based on history, Ramos went at the end of October, didn't he? After getting 2 points out of 24, having
what happened to Ramos?
So listen, I take it. Ange may well have us down in the bottom 6 even if we win the Europa League. So for me, would he stay? I suppose you couldn't get rid of him if he's brought a trophy in his second year. How can you get shot of him? Is he gonna turn us into a much stronger team like Poch did? The answer is no. You can see that. You can see there's nothing there.
The big question will be, because we've not really experienced it in a long, long time. If we were to win the Europa, what does that do for the players at the club, how they feel and how they raise their game going into next season? What does that do? Or is it job done? Fuck it, I ain't got to do anything now for another 10 years. You don't know because we've never been in that position before. We're not that club, are we? We're not that club.
It depends on how we win the game as such as well. Would we win it through Ange's tactics, or would we win it because the players have been forced? Or the players have been forced to play that way, like Villa did with us, like City did with us, whatever. It's all ifs, buts, and maybes. But if he goes and wins the Europa Cup, he's got to get credit where it's due. Same as you're going to have to give a bit to Levy because we always slam him because we get nothing. And it justifies him at least another 6 months as far as I'm concerned. Not that I want him, but it's about being fair in that aspect.
Do you know what? If you're a Chelsea fan, when they won the Champions League in 2012, they got battered at Barcelona. They got battered in the final at Munich's ground by Bayern Munich. And they came through and they won it. Do they care? Who cares? They had their moment in the sun, didn't they? It doesn't matter, you know.
If the difference with them,
Sadly, if Vicario turns in world-class performances in Frankfurt, Lazio, and Bilbao, and the Spurs win, who cares?
No. I feel like this is where people don't actually listen to where I'm coming from. Go and win it. But I hear people out there making videos about me saying I don't want to win it. I've never said that. I want to win it. No. I'm asking the question of what does that do for us? Because the difference in that situation, Lubo, is Chelsea go and win a Champions League or a Premier League. What do Chelsea do in those summers? Chelsea go and buy top footballers to raise the level of the club. Yeah. My going back to the beginning point of this was, do we win it? And then we just suddenly go, well, there you go. We don't need to spend money on big wages because buying these kids, trimming the wage bill has actually worked. That's my concern. But listen, I want to get to. We're never going to get through questions if we go like this. Maz, big up to you, my man. Has said, has your respect for Romero wanting to leave increased? #ambition. Guys, this is a difficult one because a lot of rumours, a lot of talk that Romero wants to leave, but I'm guessing it's really difficult to know if he actually does because he's body language, behaviour suggests yes, but there's no transfer request on the table. But yes, I will respect Romero if he wants to leave. I would respect him because why would anyone want to play for a team in 14th? So I don't know what you guys think.
If he wants to go, he wants to go. It's his call. It's his life. It's not as though we brought him up through the ranks and he owes us anything or anything like that. I mean, respect his decision, whatever. I mean, respect for me, I use it in a different phrase. If you want respect, give me something to bloody respect. As far as I'm concerned, at Spurs, he hasn't given me anything to respect. He's given me something to like, but he hasn't given me something to respect. I just look on respect as something you earn, whereas other people use it as respect someone's opinion. I don't respect someone's opinion. I just acknowledge they've got a different opinion. He hasn't really turned it into what the potential was of him to show him respect, really, at the club. But if he wants to go or whatever, I can totally understand and justify why he would want to go somewhere and win something, just like every other player does, just like Harry Kane's done.
Do you know, with Romero, I just want him to go now. I want him out, and I'm someone that rates Romero. I do think he's a good defender. I think the system and the coaching has let him down, but I want him gone. And the reason is, I've said it before on your channel, the environment is key when coaching, and with this constant, is he going? Is he staying? Does he want to be? Does he not want to be? Is Argentina more preferable than Spurs? You know, when this is constantly going on, just go. And the same applies with Ange. Is he going to get sacked? Is he staying? When are they going to get rid of him? How many more games has he got? Just go, man. Yeah. This happened with Pochettino, right? With Poch, we weren't saying, will he go? Will he stay? It was always, you know what? He's with us. And we said all our players, we never feared losing players when he was here. And guess what? The environment was good because of result. And we nearly did brilliantly, but we fell short. But when there was a little bit of trouble in the camp, Kyle Walker, is he staying? Is he going? Do you know what? Go. He left. He went and won everything, but Did that hold us back? No, we kept progressing. We were still top 4, challenging, got to a Champions League final. So when you've got this constant noise, this constant uncertainty, it's not good for the environment, for the atmosphere of the camp. So for me, just go, Ange, go. All of these eggs that are like that, just go. Just it doesn't work otherwise.
What I mean still, when I turn around and say to people that if a player wants to go, even if he's got a 20-year contract, he can go. If he kicks up enough stink and makes it enough in that dressing room, whatever else and that, you need to get rid of someone like that, because then it makes the whole place toxic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if he wants to go, he will get what he wants.
We kept Harry Kane. We kept Harry Kane when he wanted to go. What good did that do for us? Nothing. We didn't win nothing.
Yeah, but Harry Kane hasn't got the personality come across of Romero. Harry Kane's too timid for that. Whereas I think Romero's more the type of go banging on the door saying, "You sell me or I will not stand on that pitch." That's just how it comes across anyway.
No, I agree. He's different, yeah.
Listen,
Lubo, is it time for Romero to go? Not based on ability, just based on all the other factors still said.
They offered him a new contract. He hasn't signed it yet. And you've got to look at yourself and think to yourself, well, why hasn't he signed it? You know,
would you? Let me ask Lubo, if you're Romero right now.
That's an unfair question.
No.
I've played for Spurs my whole career.
Yeah, but
he's not leaving Archie Gray. He's not leaving Archie Gray.
Forget what I think of Romero. If he's as good as everyone tells me he is, World Cup winner, why would you want to stay here? I know it's our club and we love the club, but why would you want to? Why at this moment in time would you say, you know what? I'm absolutely loving being ripped wide open every game with this terrible formation. I'm going to sign another 3 or 4 years. You wouldn't, would you, Lubo?
Listen, if I was Romero, listen, if you're winning trophies with, you know, if you're playing for Argentina, you've won the World Cup, you won the Copa America, you're being lauded by Messi. You got something about you, and he's in the dressing room, and he wants to win trophies. You know, he's come to Spurs to win trophies, to win, to get medals, and he's looking at the players coming in over the last 2 or 3 years, and he's probably thinking, you know, why aren't they bringing in better players, more established players? You know, why? So he's looking at it, and you know, you've gone from Conte was 4th. Then left at 4th, went to 8th. We've had chaos to 5th, and now we're going to. We could finish 17th. So he's looking at that and he's thinking, well, we're going backwards, aren't we?
Yeah.
So why would he stay? And this is the summer to get rid of him.
Because we're not buying better players and we're only buying bloody kids. And if we go and win that Europa, we'll probably go and buy more kids instead of.
Well, Dan, you've heard what Levy said in the statement this week, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
About sustainability. That's a load of crap. Spurs could spend a lot more and still be within FSP. You know,
Ian, if you're Romero, you left Atalanta when you were Italian Defender of the Year to come to Spurs.
Yeah.
Since leaving Atalanta to come to Spurs, you've achieved nothing at Tottenham, but you've won a World Cup with Argentina. And you've been a Spurs player watching your old club, the mighty Atalanta, win the Europa Cup. Had you stayed there, he would have won the Europa Cup. So he must be sitting there going, I win with my national team. The team that I left to come to a bigger club, the smaller club, have won a European trophy. What am I doing?
He wouldn't have got that anyway still. He wouldn't have stayed at Atalanta. Juve wanted him back to sell him anyway because he was a Juve player.
All right, but the fact that the lesser club he played for have won a major European trophy. He must be looking at these things and thinking, what am I doing here at Spurs? Every player that's left this club, any good player that's left this club, they've all gone on to win trophies elsewhere and they've achieved nothing when they were at this club. And I bet you they've got a WhatsApp group. I bet they're all in a WhatsApp group.
So, you know, someone saying, dude, I don't know, Radu Dragasing's left Spurs and won a trophy. Get him in, add him to the WhatsApp group.
Get him in.
Hello, Radu. Welcome.
And you know, and the WhatsApp admin is Ramon Vega. Like, he's in there running. You know, he's just.
I reckon it's Sol Campbell. I reckon the
Sol Campbell, yeah. Sol.
I mean, Eric Dyer's going to win a league. Eric Dyer's going to win the Bundesliga along with Harry.
And
he's in the chat group now. He'll be in it at the end of the year.
Romero joined at the age of 23. He's now 27. We've had 4 of his best years, and he's probably thinking, "Do you know what? I've got nowhere."
I wouldn't say
you and I
that's his
talked
best
about
years as a defender. I think a defender starts seeing his best years from about 26, 27 onwards. But that's personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, but he hasn't progressed, has he? I mean, Lubo, we talked about this when we were having our romantic meal for 2 at Leighton Orient last week. Said, imagine if you are, look, Son, up until this last couple of years, if you're Kane, you're looking around the dressing room when you come back from pre-season and you're going, right, what's new? Oh, there's an 18-year-old who's got spots and hasn't learned how to grow a beard yet. Like what? At what point do these players turn around and go, well, hang on, why am I going to sign a contract? These lot aren't serious. Why am I going to be serious about it? And I get that. That must seep into these players' performances. And I'm not letting Romero off the hook for how he acts, but I get it. I completely get it. I don't know why you'd want to be here if you've got ambition.
Listen, he will go. He will go. He will go. And unfortunately, whatever we think of, Romero hasn't had the best of seasons this year, and he misses plenty of games through injury. But for me, he's still our best defender. And when he does leave, we'll get a downgrade. Might be a kid like Vuskovic coming in, or it might be they might put Dan or Dragosin in, but none of them are as good as Romero.
But they may not be.
The team will suffer again.
Yeah, but Lubo, but here you go. I'm going to argue this. I don't think the team does suffer because the guy's hardly ever on the pitch anyway. So when we're talking about the team suffers from him picking Argentina over Spurs every time. He's constantly injured. Let's use Danso, for example. Danso, for me, is a middle-of-the-road centre-half. I've got nothing against him. I think he gives his best. He is what he is, heart on the sleeve.
Good squad player. Good squad player to have.
Good squad player. But you know what? If Danso's available, I know he's not right now, but if Danso, for example, was available for 38 games of the season and struck up a partnership with Van der Ven, is that worse than having Romero in and out the team for 4 years? Like, there's no stability.
At least we'd have gone and got a player who plays in that position.
Yeah.
Listen, I do agree. Listen, I personally think Romero, for ability, is, for me, ceiling-wise, is the best player at the club. Do I think it's time for him to go now? I agree. I think it is. Listen, he deserves to go and play for a club where he's going to win trophies.
Lubo, ability-wise, you think Romero is the best of the club? Ability-wise, really?
Yes, I do.
Based on what? What do you base that on?
Based on what I've seen. This is all about opinions. This is my opinion. I think Romero at his best, I think, is an absolutely superb defender.
How often have you seen Romero at his best?
Well, a lot more in the first 2 years than the last 2 years, that's for sure. But then we all say that this system exposes players, makes them vulnerable. I mean, if you're playing as a 2 and you don't have fullbacks either side of you when you've got the ball and the fullbacks are 50 yards up the pitch, I mean, it's a joke. The whole thing is this system.
I think ability. Can we define what you mean by ability? What do you mean by ability? What are you breaking that down into?
Ability for tackling. I think his ability on the ball. I think his passing is superb. I think the passing through the lines is excellent. I don't think we have a player anywhere near at the back as good as Romero to play.
What about defending? What about defending? So far, you've mentioned things that aren't anything to do with.
So you're talking about technical ability, Lubo. Technical ability.
Technical ability, yes. I think
he's talking about a ball playing defender.
I would rather have. Who was the Everton player that took on Dragosin from the halfway line?
Lubo
there than Dragosin on a one-on-one from the halfway line, because I would put money on Romero stopping him scoring.
But Lubo,
but isn't that just discounting all of Romero's? Listen, I'm one of the first ones to say this, so I'm not contradicting myself here. I think that this team, a lot of the players look really bad because of the way he plays. But some of Romero's mistakes are when it's nothing to do with the tactics and it's just balls coming into the box that he doesn't deal with. Right?
So he's made mistakes like everybody else.
But a lot of mistakes.
First 3 or 4 games of the season, he was to blame for virtually every goal we conceded. But I still think overall players have bad patches as well.
Another way you need to look at this is you've basically preached him up as a World Cup winner and everything, and that he is a superb player. So too right, it comes down to him like a ton of bricks when he screws it up. Because he's meant to be a superb player. He's meant to be a world-class player, the way you put him across. So if someone is getting judged up there, they get judged up there when they do it bad as well.
Sure.
Dad, bang on. Bang
That's
on.
right.
We put players on pedestals and then we're not allowed to judge them against that pedestal.
That's
why I think Romero's good. But would you say he's got more ability at different positions? But I think James Maddison's got the most ability in our team.
Can I Lubo, so when we assess a player, there's 5 areas we look at. Tactical nous, physical attributes, psychological attitude, social dynamic, how he interacts amongst his peers and communication, and then technical ability, which is essentially let's call it ball control, tackling, dribbling, passing. Of all of those, you could say technically, he's a good player. Socially, we don't know. Psychologically, that's always been one of the criticisms. He switches off. He's too rash. Tactically, he does get caught out, but then is that partly the manager's fault for the system? There's an argument to be had there. And then the other one is the physical.
As well, still.
Physical. Yeah, he did under Conte as well. Physically, he is a strong player physically. We could say that. So ability-wise, you'd say there's 2 ticks, 2 crosses, and 1 unknown. So I don't think that makes him the most highest ability player in the team.
But if you're
just talking technical, then I get where he's in the top 2 or 3 technically.
If he wasn't quite that good, then Simeone wouldn't want him. Emery allegedly wants him. You're talking about 2 top managers here.
Hang on.
They see something there.
Hang on. Let me throw your theory back at you then, because you keep telling me, don't you, in our WhatsApp group, Lubo, Bentancur shit. I want Gray over Bentancur. Isn't Bentancur wanted by Atletico Madrid as well?
Not like Romero is, I don't think. I think Romero's their top target. I think he's their top target.
Listen, I just look at these. I think you're on mute, Dan. I think Romero's good. I do. But when you're saying the best ability in our team, I don't, he doesn't come into my head. I look at him and it's like there's too many bozo moments. And these were happening under Conte. And the problem was, under Conte, the excuse I heard from everyone was, but he's playing alongside Davis and Dyer. Right? Then it was, but next to Van der Ven, he's going to be much better. And next to Van der Ven, he's not really been much better. There's still he loses his man too easily for me, guys. He loses his man far too easily for me. Just saying.
As a ball-playing defender, he is our best out-and-out defender. No 2 ways about it. But it does also depend on what you want your defender to play like, basically, doesn't it?
Defend.
Well, we need our defenders to be out-and-out ball-playing defenders, don't we? Because we play it out from the back.
Yeah.
Sure, but you've got to be able to defend.
You've got to have help defending.
I understand that. But when we looked at the examples at the beginning of the season for the mistakes Romero was making, they weren't to do with Anfield. It was to do with
they were individual.
Switches off. Look, for me, as I've always said, I think Christian Romero is a good player. I've got no issue if Christian Romero is fit and playing for the club. My issue with him is that I think, one, I think he's madly overrated. I think our fans I think I've seen enough of him now for 4 years to know he's not top class. Top class players, we wouldn't still be having this conversation after 4 years. Is that fair? Top class players, you don't have 4 years of up and down.
No, he's not on Van Dijk's level, is he? He's a level below.
But he's not even at Saliba or Gabriel's level, is he? Let's be brutally honest. If I watch Arsenal's back two, they defend. They defend.
Yeah, I've seen Saliba for France when he got in that French team. And he looked like dog crap.
Do you know? Can I say?
I didn't mention France. I'm
saying Romero international actually looks solid.
The thing is, right?
He didn't last week, did he?
Okay, one mistake.
Guys, I've said this before.
They all make mistakes. All of them, they all make mistakes.
Wait,
Come on.
Lubo, I've said this before. I want to see Romero in a properly drilled defensive team with good players around him. Okay, I look at Saliba. They're a very well drilled defensive team. Arsenal have been drilled to be very pragmatic defensively, and they've got good players around with proper number sixes. We don't play with a six, let alone a good number six, and we're not drilled well defensively. So it's very hard to compare. I did see this season, though, when Arsenal played with a high line and Bournemouth got in, Saliba got a red card. So it's very difficult to compare them. If it's fair to say Saliba is performing better, but I think Arsenal are better, full stop. I think they're a better coached team. I think they're far better coached than what we're poorly coached. Yeah, I get you.
I agree, but we had, defensively under Conte, we weren't terrible compared to what we are under Ange, and he didn't stand out. For me, he should have stood out head and shoulders, but the excuse I heard for years was, but he's playing with Davis and Dyer. Well, you should stand out then. The way Ledley King stood out at Tottenham.
He did stand out for Conte, for sure.
I
think he did.
For Conte, he was good.
Went, wow, he's amazing. Like, he was good in games, but
under Conte, SAVVA, he was good other than the rashness. That rashness is what killed him. He was very rash. That rashness has gone a bit from his game, but then the performances have dipped. It's kind of gone the other way. It's kind of gone like that.
Who would you rather keep, VDV or Romero? If you could only keep one. Time for a hypothetical. If you could only keep one, who are you keeping?
The way we play football, the way Ange Ball is played, VDV for Ange Ball.
But nobody else plays like Ange Ball, so I'd go for Romero. and VDV's got a hamstring problem, hasn't he? Which is gonna blight him through his career, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's got an out-and-out hamstring problem yet. I think he should have had a hamstring problem since he's been playing under Ange. I don't think there's going to be many others that make him sit on the halfway line and sprint back every 10 seconds.
Yeah, but the damage is done, Dan. The damage is done now. When you
I know, it's like your back.
Injuries in 2 years, your hamstring. You could see it now. When he plays, you watch him when he plays, there's always going to be that split second in his head where it's, you little shit, you absolute, sorry, he's just piss neck, little git. You're always going to see that split second where he hesitates. Yeah. Do I stretch the legs? Do I put
your hamstrings like your back?
Yeah.
Once you've done your back in, like I've done it, I've got, bulging back disorder, disease, whatever they call it. You can only fix it 90%. And then you do it again, you can only fix it 90%. You're now 20% down, basically, is what you're saying with a hamstring. I don't think he's actually ripped it, has it? Like, torn the hamstring, but he's stretched it and he's had a split in it or whatever, hasn't he? But he hasn't actually severed it as such.
Yeah.
I think if you stop him running back from the halfway line, I don't think you'd see as much difficulty in him, basically, with the injury side.
Do we know how good he is, Dan, without that? I'm not saying he isn't. Just hear me out. Do we know how good Van de Ven is if we're going to not rely on his pace? So if Van de Ven played, let's say we got what Stell asked for, right? Let's say we get next year, you get a manager that can sort out a defence properly. Let's say you get Glasner, right? Let's say you get Glasner and you haven't got this crazy high line and everyone defends properly, right?
I'd love Glasner.
How good is Van de Ven without the pace? I'm not saying he isn't before anyone has a go at me. That is what I want to see.
We don't know, Savva. We don't know.
Right.
No,
Right.
We don't know.
we've spoke about this before, and I agree with you.
don't know.
We don't actually know what his solid out and out defending is like, bar a few moments we've seen, because we haven't actually seen him play as an out and out centre back.
The other thing also is that he would need proper defensive coaching, Van der Ven. And what I mean is, I'll just give you the example of sprinting back against Isak at Newcastle twice last season. Twice Isak put him on his backside because he went flying past him. Isak turned and he was through and he scored. And I think one-on-one defending when you're tracking, when a player's running at you, rather than all over the top, which suits Van der Ven because he's the fastest in the league. So if he's having a race with everybody on a recovery run, he will win it. How will he defend on a one-on-one when someone's running at him? If you've got someone like Alanga running at Van der Ven,
You see with Van der Ven, he's another one who I could see actually sticking him as a wing back wouldn't be the worst idea, because that's where he started playing. And the pace he's got on him, he's got good ball control. His passing isn't great, but it isn't poor. But then if his hamstrings are that ripped,
it's interesting. You know, please God, we do get a new manager next year. It'll be interesting to see how Van der Ven fits into that new manager system. I'd love to see him on the left of a 3. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Should we move to another question that's not Christian Romero? I was going to bring this up, but this is about Romero and Van der Ven again, so I'm not going to bring that up. Artist or Artist T has said, here's a concerning stat. We haven't beaten a single bottom 4 team at home this season. We have Southampton coming up. What are your thoughts on this? I'll go first.
Really?
I think we win 5-0. Yeah, we didn't beat Ipswich at home. We didn't beat Wolves at home. We didn't beat Leicester at home. So it's now Southampton.
We've got 1 point, I think, haven't we? Wolves, and we lost to Ipswich and Leicester.
The issue is,
5-0.
do you know, I want to agree with you, Savva, but I don't know, because if we lose to Chelsea, someone's going to argue with the fans, right? One of our players is going to argue with the fans. It's going to be all over social media. Ange's going to be under pressure talking crap again. Confidence will be low, as always. And then you go into the Southampton game thinking, right, we've got to win this. But then on the Tuesday, we fly out to Germany. We've got a game. Sorry. On the Wednesday, we've got to prepare for the game on Thursday. And Ange's got is he going to go full strength on Sunday? Probably not. He's going to mix it up a bit because he knows that massive game on Thursday is coming. So he's going to be in a situation where,
but again, everyone's been arguing that he shouldn't do that and he should give his whole team for the league. A lot of people have been arguing that.
What, to not play the first team?
Like when they're playing in the league and they got the Europa game in 4 days' time.
You're having a dig at me, Dan?
Amongst a lot of others.
And, I knew he was. As soon as he said it, I went, he's talking about me. He's talking about me.
But Ange, forget what we think. Ange is going to rest players on Sunday. He's going to rest players. He's not going to risk it.
He will,
Right, so that now means that Southampton game is a little bit more trickier than what it should be. Like, if he plays the starting 11, we should beat them. I mean, we beat them 5-0 at their ground with an injury-prone Spurs. We beat them 5-0 at their ground. They've got a new manager now. They're a little bit better, but they're still not great. But if we go into the game on Sunday, having lost the game on Thursday, and by the way, why are we playing Thursday, Sunday when everyone else is playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday? I don't understand that. So we get less rest.
Premier League game that day.
That's what I mean. How do we get stitched up like that? And we've got a game on Thursday.
Because it's Sky Television.
Well, I just
TNT Thursday.
We're not on Sky on Sunday. There's lots of other games on Sunday.
We are on Sky Sunday.
We are on Sky.
We're on Sunday. I beg your pardon. All right, we are on a Sunday. So I just think he's going to rest players, and it's going to make it not as straightforward. We should win it. Look, we should win it still. But how many times have I said this on these shows where I say, we'll beat Leicester? Come on, guys, it's Tamworth.
No,
I don't want to do it again.
Sorry, Stel.
I'm going to say 2-0 Spurs. I don't think
Stel,
I'm going to say 2-0
you were right. No, Stel, you were right. We're not on Sunday. We're on there on when we play Chelsea.
Yeah, I knew it. They changed it. Yeah, because they changed it.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah, we're not on TV.
You're right. It says it on here. We're not on TV. Well, not on English TV anyway.
My app says that we're on the Sky. We're on Sky Sports.
No,
against Southampton.
Here it says the total off. It says we're going to be with it when we got Chelsea
tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
We're live tomorrow.
Yeah. We're the only Premier League game tomorrow at 8:00.
Yeah.
Spurs and Chelsea live on Sky. And then Sunday, the ones on Sky are Fulham and Liverpool and Man U and Man City.
Right. Dan's right. I've just got on Sky TV. Spurs are not live. It's Fulham, Liverpool.
It might be on TNT. I don't know.
Alex, just quickly, sorry, mate. When you're saying too many in here overrate rivals and underrate our own, we're sitting 14th in the Premier League, mate, and we've lost 35 games in 18 months. That might have a little to do with why we overrate other players of clubs that are not losing that many games. The problem is, if we do this theory, we could do this throughout the whole pitch. If you stick someone better there, you stick someone better there. But at what stage do you stop doing that? Like, I've heard excuses for Romero for 4 years. At the end of the day, at some point, he's got to stand up and be counted. At some point, it's got to be stop feeling sorry for himself. He's got to show that he wants to play for Spurs. But look, guys, Lubo, back to the Southampton game, whether we're on TV or not, I've got this feeling we're going to batter them and then we're going to get it's back. Ange ball is back. This is what you get when everyone's fit. You can see it already, Lubo. You can see the script.
Listen, it's a lot easier for Spurs to score goals against a team like Southampton playing Ange's way, because Southampton aren't very good. So, and you look at our results. We've played 14 games against the bottom half teams, and we've got 26 points, which is nearly 2 points a game. So we are where we are. That's those stats tell the story. So we should be beating Southampton, and whether it's 2-0 or 3-0 or 3-1 or 4-1, whatever, really doesn't make any difference. As long as the players who he's going to play on Thursday are ready and they're match fit and they're sharp and they've had some game time without being silly, without taking risks, then for me that's what the next two games are all about, because we get 6 points, we get 3 points, we get 0 points. It's all about next Thursday.
But Lubo, you need to build momentum before you go into these big games. So if you just get pounded and pounded,
Danny, momentum.
You do. Is that a buzzword that he uses?
No, when he just trying to dig at me, because I said,
just a little dig back.
Still, what I said earlier in the week, right? This was my point on it. Was where everyone's going, rest the first team for Frankfurt. Don't worry about Southampton. And my first and foremost point was, what is our best 11 anymore? Like what are we doing here? What 11 are we saying is our best 11? Second of all, what if we haven't got any momentum going into that? And what I mean is this, still. I'm not saying we will, by the way, before anyone clips this as a go at me. If we lose to Chelsea tomorrow night, right? If we lose to Chelsea tomorrow night, then all of these players we want to play against Frankfurt don't play against Southampton. They're then going into the Frankfurt game off the back of a loss, having not played in a week. And what we've seen this year, every time we talk about the players have had a good rest, the game after, we're absolutely shocking. So we haven't really got any evidence that resting the players actually...
Let me share something with you.
I'm only saying leaving players out. Leaving 7 or 8 players out, no. But
Which three? Which three?
If I had to leave 3 out, I'd leave out
Van der Ven. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Romero...
Madison.
And at the minute, I definitely want Spence playing, but then he doesn't seem very injury prone either. And then this
right, Dan.
I think
Kulu's not fit anyway, is he? Kulu's not fit anyway.
When I was doing my UEFA badge, they threw this scenario at us and they said, "What would you do? You've got a big game coming up. Do you rest your players for the games leading up to it, so that they're fresh on the big game day and they've got more energy, and they're ready to and there's they're just there's no niggles, there's no injuries. You've got a fresh team that's had a good rest, or do you play players so they go into the game having they're in the flow of running on grass, being in tackles, and having some momentum behind them, but they might go into the big game tired, maybe a little knock. What do you do? And they put that scenario to us, and everyone answered differently. There's no wrong or right to this. But what they did show us was not just in football, but in basketball and American football, in sports in general. So we had this was a sports scientist took this seminar. The team that has momentum in most scenarios, not always, but most, ends up winning that big game in most occasions. I think it was something like 65, 70% of the time. The team with momentum is the team that wins that big game. The team that rests players only wins 35 to 30%. Now that was put to me, right? So we could be that 35% that wins the Frankfurt game because we've rested players.
Yes, but if we rest 3 players, that doesn't mean we've rested a team.
No. Would you stop
if the others are on momentum?
So Van der Ven will be going in.
But Ange made loads of changes against Fulham, didn't he? Made quite a lot of changes.
Yeah, I know. He didn't. That's what I'm saying. He didn't need to do that because there was a 20-day gap between, or whatever it was, 19 days between the next game. Yeah. If there's only a 3-day gap between the games, like it's going to be, I say rest 2 or 3 of your best players.
There's no wrong or right. The answer will be after the Europa Cup game. That will be your answer. Then you'll know whether it was wrong or right. But for me, from what I studied, I wouldn't necessarily go full strength against Chelsea and Southampton, but in one of those games, I would go full strength in at least one.
Yeah, Chelsea.
Right? Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea's got to be Chelsea. For me, I would start with the team I'm going to pick, all things being equal, against Frankfurt, which would be, for me, I think virtually all of this is nailed on. I might be wrong on 1 or 2. But for me, I think the team he's going to pick will be Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence. I think you'll see a midfield 3 of Bentancur, Bergvall, Maddison, and some Solanke and Odegaard up front. And I think
what game is that?
For Frankfurt. That would be, for me, that's the team I think he'll pick against Frankfurt. I think, personally, I think that is... Vicario in goal.
Just checking.
Not Kinski, no.
I didn't know you might have preferred him because he's younger.
Yeah.
So you don't think, Lubo, you don't think he'll start Johnson or Kulu?
Kulu's injured.
Kulu's out. Kulu's out for Frankfurt.
Yes.
I heard Kulu was back. No,
Kulu and Dansu are injured. Kulu and Dansu are out for Frankfurt first leg.
So Archie Gray's not going to start.
No, Archie Gray.
I'm not trying to wind you up, but you don't think he'll start then?
No.
That's why Lubo said he's not going to watch it. He's not watching it.
Then with that aspect, then we definitely need to rest a couple of the players because we haven't got no backup for them as such.
Well, Dan,
Davies is back.
Is Van der Ven fit enough to play? Like at the moment, do we know, is Van der Ven fit enough to play 90 minutes tomorrow night against Chelsea?
They've said he's not going to be fully fit until the start of next season.
What?
So
what do you mean?
So this
what does that mean?
Do you go in?
Are you fit or not?
Don't ask me. I'm only saying what I've read in the papers.
What does that actually mean? Either you're fit. If you're not fully fit, you're not fit.
I don't write
that
I just read it.
So how do you go in? So how do you go into the game against Frankfurt with a guy that we know isn't 100% fit? Isn't that crazy?
Then you're not fit. Then if you're not 100% fit, you're not fit.
Like we did with Chelsea.
You can't play elite level football unless you're 100%. That's how you get injured. You got to be.
Still, if Van der Ven plays, he'll be fit. I don't. It's all.
This is what I mean. You can't be. You can't be 80%, 60%. Otherwise, that's how you get injured. That's how injuries happen.
Still, unless you've heard this from a spokesman for Tottenham on behalf of the medical team or Postecoglou in a pre-match interview, you can't actually take too much of it seriously.
Who said it? Dan, was it just one of those random Twitter so-called accounts that know what they're talking about?
Whoever it was, let's be fair. This guy was meant to be back fit for Tottenham, right?
Oh, cool.
Wasn't it on like January the 20th or something? We're now sitting here on the 2nd of April, and he's played 30 minutes of football against Bournemouth and 30 minutes against Elfsborg or whatever it was. Like
60, one was 60, one was 30.
I don't care about the number. What I know is
Two. It was 54. It was 54. Yeah.
He's made two fleeting appearances. He was meant to be, and that was an injury from November. So I don't care. There's something going on with Van der Ven. I feel like this is a lot more serious than they're letting on. This has been nearly 6 months now, this injury. 6 months.
They sent him away, didn't they, to help condition him, help change the way he ran to try and put slightly less pressure on the hamstring. I'm sure I read he went somewhere either I'm not sure it was Europe or America where they had specialists working on this to try and make sure that his hamstring injuries are avoided, are mitigated as much as possible.
In other words, tell Ange not to get him up to the halfway line and sprint him back about 15 times every.
That would help. That would be a massive help.
The thing is, the home game is the hardest. Sorry, the home game is the more important of the two, because I believe we need to take a 2 or 3 goal minimum advantage before we go to Germany, which means we've got to go for it. We've got to go for it at home. You need to have your best, most informed, fittest players for that first game. At least, I know he's not going to do it, but at least in Germany, if you've got something to protect, you can be a bit more low block, counter attack, low block. You know, if Ange wants to do that, sometimes he does. Most times he doesn't.
I've just sent you one of the links. I've got a couple more.
I'll put it in the private chat. Put it in the private chat.
Right.
Actually, no, I'll go on my phone.
Yes.
I've put
Oh,
it in the private chat.
Oh, top man. Yeah, so I think that first leg is actually the more important of the two, because we need to get a good head start. Otherwise, if we go to Germany with a draw or just a 1-0 lead, then we're going to go in soldier of 58,000 German hooligans.
We've got to win. We've got to win the home leg. Going there losing or drawing, I just think we're again. I mean, I know it's not Anfield, but you said the same thing. Remember about Anfield? When we get there, the lights go on, the songs are being sung, the crowd are the way they are. Our players will just go, all right. The players will just melt under the pressure. And we will do that again in Germany, because we're not set up to contain. This team isn't set up to contain Frankfurt for 90 minutes if they go full-on home advantage offensive football. So I think we win the home leg. I think we lose the away leg, and I think it's going to be whoever gets the greatest win at their own ground.
Yeah, I think the difference also, Sav, is that we were missing at Anfield. We were missing Romero. We were missing Van der Ven. We were missing Solanke. You know, they are
They played the year before. We crumbled there.
They are important players. I'm not saying it would have been it would have been a better performance. I'm not saying we'd have won because Liverpool are the best team.
Based on what?
It would have been a better performance because you got better players there, you know, with a better mentality. Those players froze. They just sat back and just defended for the first half an hour. And then once Liverpool broke through, it was just open. It was open house, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that tells you then. So that wasn't Romero and Van der Ven. The defence on that night, for me, the problem in a lot of these games hasn't been the back four. No, this is where I think we go wrong. I think that the problem has been it's the tactics in front of the back four.
Yeah.
Right? And what the back four are told to do.
Agreed, Dan. But my point is this. I keep seeing, but when I've heard this for so long. Van der Ven and Romero haven't played in a game where we've beaten a top 10 team for over a year. But I keep hearing if they were playing, it's different. But it's not been. There's no evidence to show that.
But they are our best defenders. Do you agree?
But we lost just as many games. I do agree, but I
don't think the problem has been the defence. The problem has not been the defence per se. The problem is the tactics. We went to Anfield last year with Van der Ven and Romero, and we were 4-0 down but was it 4-0 at half time?
No, 4-0 after 60 minutes.
4-0 after 60 minutes. So Van der Ven and Romero played in that game, and we still went like, we went to Arsenal with Van der Ven and Romero. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't understand how long we have to talk about this until we realise it's not the personnel, it is the tactics. I don't know how long we've got to do this for. I really don't.
We all know that. We all know, you can't play 2 at the back. He plays 2 at the back, 5 in midfield, all congested. And unfortunately, when we lose the ball, everyone's like flying back, as mad recovery runs from everybody, because quite a lot of the time we're outnumbered.
Yeah.
By counter-attacking on us. So
and that's why we had about 4 or 5 players who got a hamstring injury.
Sure. That's been the problem all along. Odebear, Mickey, Romero.
Davis never had a hamstring problem, they said, in his career, and all of a sudden plays for Ange. It is the tactic. With that sort of tactic, it's going to happen. With the amount of...
But it's all defenders. Funny how it's the defenders that are all of them virtually.
Because they're the ones that are having to sprint back all the time.
That's right. That's right.
Or coming from a number 10 position to try and sprint halfway diagonally across the pitch.
Davis, Danso, Romero, Van der Ven have all had hamstring injuries this season.
Again, so like when I bring this up, I always say it doesn't matter whether that 2 in the middle, you keep... Sorry, let me remove that. This is just from one game. Each time you can see we've got 2 defenders back. It doesn't matter if that's Romero and Van der Ven. Liverpool are still scoring on each of those occasions because it doesn't matter how good they are if they're outnumbered.
Look at the gaps. Wide. Look at the gaps.
Oh, yeah, I know. But this is Ange ball. This is Ange ball.
Any other team, you've got a right back and a left back tucked
Lubo, but this is Savva's point. You're saying, but we've got our best players back, and Savva's saying it doesn't matter because the positioning of the players will still be the same. Do you get it?
We are basically, that is looking like when I used to play FIFA.
Yeah.
Because that's all they got to do is come down the side when there's no one there, and what's the phrase? Sweat the box off, tap it in.
Yeah.
That's what they used to call it.
It reminds me, when I was younger and used to play Championship Manager, which I think is now called Football Manager, right?
Yeah.
And it would be like, God, I'm losing 1-0 with 20 minutes to go. Right, sod it. I'm going to take off my fullbacks. I'm going to leave 2 at the back. I'm going to get 3 up front. I'm going to put another attacking midfielder on. And you go on, lads. That's his normal tactics. It's baffling. Look, I don't know how good you guys are for time, but I've got a couple more questions. If we're good for time.
So, can I just answer Alexander in the comments? It's more the training and medical staff. You're half right, Alexander. You're 50% right. It's the training. It's not the medical staff. In fact, the head of the medical staff left because Ange wasn't listening to him. And we got players in the red zone that are being continued to play in the red zone. The training's too intense, and they run around pointless running during a match. If you look at the stats, I think Spurs as a team have probably have covered more grounds across this season, probably than most teams in Europe. And most of it is a waste of time. It's a waste of run.
So we have been playing players when they're not fit.
Correct. When they're in the red zone. That's right.
Do you know? We haven't had these injury crises in our youth teams, and they use the same medical staff.
That's right.
Different coaches, though. Different team manager.
They do play a high line. When I went to see the youth team play at Watford a few weeks ago, still, it was exactly the same high line. No different.
Yeah, but they don't play with high inverted fullbacks, though, on both sides.
Correct, but they also don't play at the pace that the Premier League play at as well.
The thing is, all of our issues can be solved. If we're not going to stop inverting the fullbacks, you solve all these issues by playing a 6 who sweeps across left and right and clears up, which is what Poch used to do. That when the fullbacks pushed up, we went into a triangle at the back with the 6 playing at the front of the centre backs. I don't understand how any manager in world football plays with a high line and no protective cover in front of the back two. I just, that for me, that one thing.
Yeah.
There's There's high risk football, then there's just suicide. It's suicidal.
It's total high risk. And the thing is that you've got to have, for it to remotely have a chance of winning in this league, you've got to have the best players, the fastest players, the most switched on players in the whole league. And even then, it might not be enough. It's not like Japan, Japan, or Australia. It's
like what's been proven this season. People only say you can do it when you're the team that has the possession of the ball all the time. Well, Nottingham Forest have proved that wrong.
Sure,
they're number 20 with possession at the ball, and they're doing all right for themselves. It's not all about ball possession; it's about what you do with it, isn't it?
Dan, Leicester won the league with 37% possession that season.
Look what Rob T's put in the chat.
What's he put? Like blaming the medical staff in a war zone hospital.
It's true.
Much.
Isn't it? Let's blame the medical team in a war zone.
Pretty much.
Let's get some big up to AJ, who said, I'm not convinced Romero has been injured as often as he's been out. His performances when fit have been very underwhelming. AJ, you're 100% right. Don't listen to Lubo. You're 100% right. He has been very underwhelming. Thank you very much. Yeah, listen, I suppose we're going to find out more when he retires, maybe. I don't know, some sort of a book about Ange's time. Again, would you want to rush back and play in this formation if you know it's going to ruin your chances of playing in major tournaments for your country? I don't know. Just a theory. Big up to you, AJ. I appreciate that. A user has said a report, Glasner's rep in talks with RB Leipzig, according to Florian Plettenberg. Now, I've obviously not seen that, but whoever gets Glasner, that's a top manager. That is a top coach. People say to me, oh, it doesn't matter if we change manager. Look what he's doing with Crystal Palace. They've got the best away defense in the league. I think they've got the best away defense in the league. They've got one of the best defenses in the league, and they're above us, and they're in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. So, and he keeps losing his best players. I'll take Glasner all day, every day. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Big up to you, a user. And Anthony, big up to you, my man. Long time no see. Hope you're well. I said, big up SAVVA, Stel, and the rest of the panel. Looks like Paratici is set to become our new sporting director at Milan. What should my expectations be for him? Guys, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, one, what can Anthony's Milan expect from Fabio Paratici? And two, you've all seen it. The report has been, let me get this right. Let me read this to you. The report is this, and this is from a very reliable source. Could be HP. I don't know. The report said this. As the deal looks like it's not going through for Paratici to Spurs, he's not accepted Levy's contract offer due to the bonus. The bonus was that in the next 5 years, if we are able to qualify for the Champions League each year without spending more than 100 million, Paratici would get bonuses. Discuss Paratici, Milan, bonuses. Are we gutted to not have him back? Is it Lang for life? Discuss.
I think I would have been more than happy with him back because he's a lot better than what we've got. Milan should be rocking because they're crap, basically, and he's more than their level. They haven't got no money to spend, and I think he can get the deals in as well. I think, but I would have rather Spurs kept him for the sheer fact of the crap we have got.
If we had an owner with any brains in his head regarding football, now knowing that Paratici is going to Milan, I'd go and get Dan Ashworth before he rejoins England. That's what I'd be doing. Did a good job at Brighton. Was it Brighton? I think it was Brighton. Did a good job at England. You know, wasn't given a particular chance at Man United. Yeah, at the end of the day, Ten Hag wanted certain players, and those players cost him his job. I'd bring in Ashworth, no question about it.
Could I just chuck a little curveball? What would anyone look at Dougie Freedman?
Another good one, another good shout.
I think he's bought some really
really
under the radar people like Richards, people like Lacroix, people like Munoz, people like Wharton. Yeah, Sarr, who's playing well at Palace. You know, I always wonder if they could do that at Palace. I know it's a different size of a club, but could someone like a Dougie Freedman do that at Spurs? All of those players I just mentioned were very cheap, very, very cheap.
We've got Lange, who has been nothing short of underwhelming. That summer window was just meh. The January window. I'm trying to reduce my swearing, but yeah, the January window was unreal. Kinski, what's the point? Mateus Tell, absolute waste. And then Danzo, I kind of get it, but he's not the answer. And I just look at the direction we're going in with Lange, and we're going backwards. So then we think about, well, bring Paratici back. He wasn't brilliant, but he done a fairly decent job, right? He done a fairly decent job. But then you've got the chairman coming out and saying, you know, we've got to be sustainable. We've got to follow this model. And it all leads to me that the person that comes in is going to have to work under such constraints that unless they're on a salary that is so damn good, they're just being set up to fail. And that's probably what Paratici's looked at. He's looked at it and he said, do you know what? I began to lay the foundations for you guys to sort your act out. And now you're a mess. You've absolutely messed it up. And you want me to come in and sort it out. Well, I want to get paid for that. No, well, we can't because we've got this self-sustainable model and the financial results, the debt's gone up. And do you know what I predict? I predict next season we're going to have an even more claustrophobic transfer window. It's going to be worse than this one.
Unless we're going to go out. You reckon we're going to go out? You reckon we're going to go and buy a load of another Archie Grays, basically, and Bergvilles?
I think we're going to go and buy.
Don't do it.
I think we're going to buy.
Oh, I'll add Oderbert onto it as well.
What I think we're not going to do, Dan, is go and sign Mbuemo. Go and sign Guay. Not elite players, but players that have proven they can do something in the Premier League. I believe we're not going to do that. We're going to do something different, and it won't land unless we get a fantastic manager that can work with it. That's what I think is going to happen. Paratici not coming back is a sign to me that he doesn't want to work for the club anymore. That it just doesn't work. And he's been there. He knows what it looks like. He knows what it's like. He's got more than enough experience to make a decision on whether or not he can do his job properly at Spurs. And he probably feels, you know what, I can't. Where you are now, forget it. So whoever comes in is going to either have to be an absolute miracle worker, or they're going to be constrained. And whoever's constrained, good luck to them. Because everything we're hearing is building up for a very disappointing summer, in my opinion. I think we're being built up for a big disappointment unless we win the Europa. The Europa Cup is the only saving grace for us at the moment, and that is one hell of a long shot. That's what it sounds like to me. Paratici's not coming to Spurs.
We need experienced players. We don't need any more wingers, that's for sure. Although Mbuemo would be obviously.
They want wages, Ian. They want wages, and they cost money. And Levy said again that sustainability word. He's putting it out there to brainwash people. Yeah, sustainability. Yeah,
we went and got. I don't want to take it to this again, but there was better, more established players out there than some of the youth we got that are on less wages.
But Dan, we should have bought both. We're Tottenham Hotspur. This club has the money to have gone out and three established players.
I should be able to leave my car door open, and I bloody can't. Ian,
we don't do it. It's a bit different.
We don't do it.
Guys, look at what Paratici did.
Hang on.
We've done an hour and 50, and we're about to get into an Archie Gray debate. I can feel it.
This is nothing to do with Archie Gray. Last season, we were three established players short in the transfer window. There's nothing wrong with bringing in good kids. There's nothing wrong with clearing out deadwood. But you've got to replace the established players that are going out with established players coming in. And that's where the transfer window fell down.
Ian, but then you've got to understand, surely, being a Spurs supporter so long, is this either one or the other? Shut up and deal with it.
Listen,
that's how we're all told to do it.
Paratici came in.
That's how we're all told to do. It's either that one or that one. Shut up and deal with it.
Dan,
we don't get both.
Everybody at the protest will be there because they're not accepting it. This is bullshit. This club had the money.
The start of it.
Dan, they had the money last season to have gone and spent 120 million on three good.
Ian, I agree, but when have they ever done it?
You're both talking about two different things, right? Ian, I agree with you. We should do both. But I think what Dan's point is that if this is our budget and we're not doing both, that has always been my argument. That if we have got a budget of 100 and just spitballing, guys. If our budget is 150 million, I don't want a big chunk of that being on an 18-year-old that we're going to see the best of in 3 years. I think that's the difference. Should we do both? Absolutely. Do we do both? No. So the whole point is what we actually needed in the summer. Can't believe it. What we needed in the summer wasn't 4 or 5 18-year-olds. We needed one 18-year-old and 3 or 4 senior pros. Now, that's just my feeling. And I think we've been very justified, Dan. Hang on, just quickly. I think we've been very justified in that from what we've seen this year. Because whenever we lose or don't do well, I'm told, but it's a young team. Well, yeah, by design. You went and bought young. If you don't want it to be young, if you don't want your backup players to be 18 years of age, go and buy some 24, 25, 26-year-olds. Sure. And we spent money. That's my problem with last summer. Yeah. We spent money.
When it comes to Spurs, it's like kids. I said, Ian, I wasn't talking to you when I said that. I was talking to basically Tottenham as such. Yeah? So don't think I was telling you personally. But that is basically how it is at Spurs and how it's always been. There you go. Shut up and deal with it. We don't get the best of both sides. We never have done. Maybe once or twice out of pure luck. Nothing more. And guys, when it's...
Paratici came into Spurs, right? He brought in Simon Davies. He nabbed him before he was going to go and work with Vincent Kompany at Burnley, right? He nabbed him and convinced him to be our academy director. So they changed the philosophy of the academy. He then broke the wage bill so that we can attract better quality academy players that we hadn't developed in-house, that we were going to ship in and put into the under 16s, 18s, 21s. And they helped bring through some successful football teams. Right. He laid those foundations. What have we done with the foundations he laid? Haven't seen Ashley Phillips. Just haven't seen the guy. The academy kids that came through, the Mikey Moores, the Lancashires, where are they? So whatever work Paratici's done, it's almost like we didn't utilize it. So what was the point of that work? You've literally allowed the man to come in, restructure you for better reasons, and then just almost bring the house down on it. So he's looking at thinking, what is the point of me being there? For what? As for transfers, I think he's made some very suspect transfers, like the Emerson Royals. And even Archie Gray, right? He came in. We don't even play him in his right position. What was the point? So I just look at the work. I look at the work.
Played at the top league. He'd never even played in the top league either.
But Dan, a lot of Paratici's work was to restructure the youth. So let's say Archie Gray's part of that restructure. You don't even play him in his position. So what was the point of it? So if you're Paratici, you're looking at it thinking, what was the point of my work? And want me to come back for what? And you look at the transfers. You look at the transfers of Paratici's transfers. It's fair to say 30% flopped, 30% were really good, and the other 40% is up for debate. Right? It's up for debate. Do you think Bentancur's good? Do you think Kulu's good? It's all up for debate. So he's probably looking at it thinking, whatever I've tried to do here, you either have sabotaged it chipped away at it or you haven't properly utilised it. He didn't want Ange.
No, he didn't.
He didn't want Ange.
He was outvoted, I was told.
So who comes in? Who comes in knowing that is my work actually going to be used here? Is my efforts going to be utilised, or are you just going to muck it up?
But still,
you've got great kids, and you've got a manager who's not interested in them.
But we don't know if they're great kids. That's the problem. We don't know if they're great kids.
Let's use the word potential.
Yeah,
potential great kids.
Well, Ian, whatever the Paratici plan is,
you've got exciting prospects. And I saw a list of players up here: Byfield, Frankie Day. There's just been listed. We've got some really good kids coming through in the under-16s and under-18s, as you said, still. And you've got a manager that's not even interested.
Yeah, but Ian, that's my point. But that's my point. You've got a director of football whose idea is not being executed. So what was the point of me introducing my ideas if you brought in a manager that's against what I've tried to set up? Because he's not utilising it. And what he is doing is something different. That's why, you know, the next, whether it's Friedman, whether we bring in Dan Ashworth, whoever comes in, surely they're going to look at it and say, you've had 7-8 academy directors. Whose actual ideas have you followed up on and pushed forward after they've laid down the groundwork?
I mean, but look, guys, what we do know is, right, we can't have another window like this.
We are.
I know, but we can't. We can't.
Out of all of them, who has actually been a success?
None of them so far. Listen, Bergvall looks talented. Yeah, we've had this discussion a lot. Bergvall, I can see something in him. Odegaard, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 games where I've gone, there's something about you, but the rest, nothing. Yang, got people at QPR saying talented, but not ready. Like not ready for definitely not ready for the Premier League. You've got Gray, can't get a game in midfield. Timo Werner, I mean, let's not even go there. And then Dominic Solanke, who, sorry, I said it at the time. At the time, I said, I reckon this guy maximum gets 15 league goals. And I was told, no, he'll get 20, 25. He's sitting on 7 league goals. Like,
I agree.
What a disastrous transfer window. Now, before Lubo bites back at me, I know he will, in 2-3 years' time, we might turn around and go, bloody hell. Gray and Bergvall were our 2 centre mids. God, now they're 21, 22 years of age. Look at them. God, look at Yang. Odegaard's we might. But the problem is, every summer can't be that. Every summer can't be, well, in the 28-29 season, in the 27-28, summer.
Forget Bergvall. Bergvall deal was done in January, and for $8.5 million, that's neither here nor there. That's pennies.
I agree.
But when you look at the going back to not replacing the established players, we spent 134 million in the transfer window last summer, and when the money from Højbjerg comes in, which I think is guaranteed, I think there'll be 70. I think that brings in 70 with the players. So you got 74. Was it 30 odd million down on the wages?
Yeah, 30 million down on the wages. Yeah.
So you've got a net spend of 45 million. 9th richest club in the world with a net spend of 45 million.
Yeah,
this brings us back. Always brings me back to owners who are not interested. It's all about the balance sheet. A net spend of 45 million. This is Tottenham Hotspur. How much did Brighton net spend? How much did Forest net spend? How much did Bournemouth net spend? West Ham. Seriously, this is a big 6 club with a net spend of 45 million. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. It's not about. And if Archie Gray hadn't have been bought, you wouldn't have any. You'd had no net spend. You'd have broken even.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Ian. Let me ask you a question. In hindsight, right? In hindsight, let me bring that up again. That picture I just brought up. In hindsight, Tottenham have spent 124 million pounds. Forget net and all that. We spent 124 million pounds in the window, right?
Okay.
in that summer. So just take that itself. Knowing that we were going to spend 124 million pounds, if I had said to you before the transfer window opened that we are going to sign 4 kids and Solanke, you would have turned around, wouldn't you, and said, no, 1 kid and 14. You would have gone the other way, surely. Stel down, you wouldn't you, right? You would say, no.
That's right. I would have said, I would have said, forget Bergvall, because that's done already before the summer. It was done in January. I'd have bought Gray. I wouldn't have bought Odebear because you've got Mikey Moore. I wouldn't have brought in Werner. We needed a centre forward. I mean, we've all seen Richarlison's injury record. So who'd have been the centre forward this season?
Does he even exist anymore?
No, that's right. But if we hadn't have bought a centre forward, forget it, Solanke. If we hadn't have bought a centre forward, we'd have had Son at centre forward, which is a complete disaster anyway. So
I still think it would have been better than Solanke there. We
needed a centre forward, right? So you got that. I'd have taken Gray. Yang's been bought purely for financial reasons, I think, just to keep the Korean side.
Oh, that's obvious.
So for me, you've got Gray, and I would have bought 3 established players. Wouldn't have bought Werner. Wouldn't have bought Odebear. Wouldn't have bought Yang. I'd have bought 3 established players. If you're saying to me, and they had the money to spend, but Ange allegedly just wanted Gallagher for, that they had the 15 million there. They were going to spend big money on net. Well, I say they were going to spend, but top line after an appearance. I think it was appearance. They were trying to do a deal with Wolves, the papers reported, with Neto. Chelsea came in and blew them out the window. So they wanted Gallagher. And he wanted Solanke. And he wanted Odebear. And he got 2 out the 4.
But the worrying thing for me on that front is, let's use the Neto example.
Hang on, Sav. Let me just come back to Full Works. The question I was asked on Stel's
You know who that is, right?
Go on, who is it?
That's Maz.
That's Maz. Is it Maz?
That's Maz. As far as I'm aware, that's Maz, isn't it?
Is it Maz?
Maz,
yeah. That's Maz.
Yeah, Maz, you were on the show, mate. You agreed.
Yeah, you all wanted to get relegated.
The question on that show was, if the only way to get rid of Enoch and Levy was to get relegated, would you take it? And I said yes, and I stand by that even now, because 1 year down in the championship before we come up and we reset with owners that give us a bright future going forward for the next 20 years, instead of stuck with these losers, I'd take that for a year down in the championship. I would take that all day long, because I tell you something, we're going nowhere with Enoch, nowhere. And everyone's going to be moaning about this for year on year on year. We've had this for 24 years. Nothing's going to change. We've seen the statement. They're not going to spend money in the summer. Honestly, I'd rather get rid of them if it was written in stone, if the lawyers had a contract that they would leave if Spurs get relegated. If it's all written, if it's in writing, finished. Go down. Let's go and enjoy ourselves. Like I had a great time in the second division when we came up. We had some super matches there for one season. Get back in the Premiership with good owners that want success.
I mean, look,
if you go on, sorry, Sarah.
No, go on, mate. You're right. Go on. Yeah.
No, that's right. But go.
So I was going to say, look, I want to move it to let's look at the senior signing that we made then. Right, let's look at the senior signing. And again, everyone knows my opinions on Solanke. I maintain from the get-go that this is a very mediocre signing, and that we could have done a lot better if we had scouted Europe. How do you guys think he's done? Because at the moment, he's sitting there on 7 league goals and we're in April. Unless he has a barnstorming last 9 games in the Premier League, this guy's not going to even get 12 to 15. Are we putting this all on Ange? Are we seeing that this is a guy that had 1 good year and we've bought him off that hype? How good is he? What's his qualities? I'm not sold at all.
This is where I get a bit confused, because I have certain people start shouting at me, Ange picked the players. and then all of a sudden change their mind on a couple of players that it's the club that wanted them, not Ange. And then all of a sudden it goes back to no, Ange picked that player. And I do find a lot of people can't make their minds up with it, basically. And Solanke, for me, he's had one good season in his career that he can call a solid season. And that was last season. So Ange must have been watching him, if he wanted him that much, of how he was playing last season. But now he's gone and brought him into his team. He's playing in a total different way to what he was watching him play. There's no logic. To me, there's no logic in that. I don't get it. Maybe someone needs to explain it. Because if I'm watching a player and I'm like, yeah, I like the way you're playing. Yeah. And seeing that he's getting the headers in, doing this, doing that. And then I'll bring him over to my team to play 100% different way. I don't get it. I just don't get what he's trying to do with him. And Solanke, 65 million, I didn't like that anyway. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't even think he's a good player. I think he's okay. And it shows.
Are we agreed, though, that he's not the player he was last season?
That's what I just said. Basically.
Can we agree the 600 videos made that Solanke perfectly fits the system and Solanke is made for Ange ball and Solanke's pressing game will make us elite was the biggest con on YouTube after the videos were made about Matthias Tell and Timo Werner as well. It beggars belief the way people jump on any bullshit fed to them and just suddenly think that a player that's been average throughout their life is suddenly legendary quality because Spurs signed him. Solanke is a good player, but not the level we need. He's not the level we need. We need excellent. We're used to Defoe, Keane, Berbatov, Sheringham, Klinsmann, Kane. Sorry, Solanke's not that level, and he never will be.
I don't think he's good. I don't even think he's good. I think he's okay.
He scored 19 goals at Bournemouth, which says to me, if the system is set up with proper service, the way Bournemouth play, he can do something, right?
Okay.
I'll step
back on that a bit. I'll step back on that a bit.
That says to me, but then the whole system has to be set up for him. Whereas a top striker,
this is what I've
put
said
him in any system, but that's why he's not top.
Play him the right. We don't play him the right bloody way.
Yeah, but Dan, but that's why I said he's good, not good enough. He's good, but not good enough. That's what I mean by it.
I'll go with that. I'll get your point. Fair point.
Yeah, I just look at it and feel like I know a lot. Listen, I'm not saying Son is a centre forward, but I just thought that Son's more dangerous in and around the box. We saw it last season, and I know we're saying Son's not a centre forward. We're then saying Son's not a left winger, but
he's in between, isn't he? So
I know he is, but where I was going with this is in the last 3 years, we spent 110, 115 million on two forwards. I'm not going to count Valise as well, but on Richarlison and Solanke. Yeah. That's the best we've come up with 115, 20, whatever it was in money. Now, how are we in a position now where we've got our top striker this year has 7 goals? Like,
does this not come back, Sav? Does this not come back to, again, this isn't a proper football team. It's not, a proper football club. A proper football club, knowing they were getting 85, 86 million for Kane, would have had a top striker lined up to replace him. 86 million buys a bloody good forward.
Sure. But we all knew that wasn't going to happen, didn't we?
You got 100. You can buy a striker for 100 million. You can get somebody bloody good. No, they weren't.
No, Ian, I disagree with you. I disagree with that totally. For the reason being, I totally get where you're coming from. For me, money talks at the end of the day. You put the right wages, you put the right... But I get where you're coming from. But no, because the ones we would have to pay 100 million for, there's such a lack of them. They're already either at a bigger club or they're at a club where they're just about to go to a massive club. I mean, how many extremely, let alone world-class strikers can you actually think of now?
I don't know. Would you
go back 20? If you go back a certain amount of time, there was a shitload of strikers and very good ones all over the world, but it was hard to find a defender. Now there's a hell of a lot of good defenders out there, but strikers are very few and far between.
I don't think there's any even good defenders out there, but I hear what you're saying. Look, the problem is, you look at all the clubs, Dan, that want a striker, right? Every time a conversation comes up, Arsenal need a centre forward, Chelsea, Man United need a centre. It's the same 3 or 4 strikers banded around. It's Alexander Isak, it's Gyökeres. I've said 3 or 4. I can't even really think of 2 more. You've got Alvarez, who's class, but he's at Atletico Madrid. He's not going anywhere.
So you got Vlahovic at Juventus.
Yeah, I mean, even him, I'm not sure if he's that level. But yeah, Vlahovic is then in the next level down with the likes of an Osman. But there's not many to pick from. But I just fail to believe that for 60 million, 55 million, Dominic Solanke was the best we could go and get.
You had someone like Jimenez. We could have gone to final. I think he's gone to Milan now, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Was he 30 million euros?
30 million.
Yeah. I think that would have been more worth the chance than Solanke, personally.
Yeah, Martin. Yeah, Lautaro Martin.
I can't remember his name. The other one I like as well. There's one at Atalanta, and I can't remember his bloody name.
You're thinking of Retegui.
I think that's the one.
You're thinking of Retegui.
He looks like he thinks like he's got good potential. I'm just terrible remembering names.
Would you go and get Lookman from Atalanta?
I'd take him, not as my centre forward, but I'd take him.
Bring him in.
I'd have him as one of my 3 up front, but I wouldn't have him as the central player.
I agree.
But again, this is the worry now. You spent big money on Solanke. We're talking about, everyone was talking about why this guy's perfect for Spurs. I worry because so much of the game when I watch Tottenham Hotspur, he's either not in the game, and when the ball does go up to him, I think he's got really bad hold-up play. I really do. I think he's got really bad hold-up play. And I just feel like somebody put a post out the other day. I'm sure that you all saw it. And it was like there was a picture of, what was it, Berbatov and Modric and stuff like that, players like that. And then pictures of like Solanke and Brennan Johnson. It just shows how far we've fallen. And it's the scouting as well. We didn't buy Berbatov and Modric when they were Berbatov and Modric that we sold.
No.
We scouted them brilliantly.
Yeah.
They come in, you go, God, who scouted these? Now we're going, we bought Brennan Johnson. It feels lazy, guys. Do you know what I mean? We bought Johnson the year before. That Solanke.
Everything's just, the quality of staff we've got at Spurs has just dropped, hasn't it?
Massively.
Massively. Lubo, there are some good scouts at the club. The issue is they're not often listened to. They're not always listened to. There's always someone overruling someone, or there's an agent that thinks they know better and we listen to them. The issue at Spurs is we don't have a system in place that has been carefully thought out and we just stick with it. I'll give an example. We should have a scout in Holland, a scout in Spain, a scout in Germany, a scout in the Balkans, a scout in the Far East. We should have a network of scouts whose main job is learn that market, learn those leagues, just focus on that and identify talent for positions that the manager needs. That's not how we operate. We've been going down this data analytics route. The problem with the data analytics route is, what's the criteria that they're punching into the computer? Must be on 10 grand a week. Must be below the age of 21. Must be, whatever we're punching into the model is making it difficult for us to identify the talent. I just feel that the whole system and process at Spurs, there's too many constraints and there's too many restrictions on the job that our staff have to do. We do have good scouts at the club, Ian, but they're working within very difficult parameters compared to our main competition.
I'm sure, but the strategy of data should just be part of it. It can't be all of it.
It's not all of it. It's part of it. Well, actually, it's leaned more towards the data in the last few years. Maybe a bit too much, but
he has. Just to give one example, he had David Pleat going out watching matches. Pleat knows a footballer. No, we'd rather have some videos and we'd rather have the data on it. Data will only take you so far. Data won't show a player in different match day situations, whether teams, strength of opposition, situations during games. You can't, by going out to see a player play. I mean, I used to go, Dave Butler used to be my physio, and Dave, in later years, Dave was the physio with Terry Venables at Palace, Spurs, QPR and England. And Dave, he wouldn't show me the name. He just showed me a report that he wrote because he was scouting for various professional clubs. You want to see how detailed this report is? That's just going out scouting a player. He would go out maybe 5 or 6 games running and watch the same player. It's very, very detailed. Now it's all about getting stats. No, it's not about getting stats. It's seeing how players play, going out and watching them with your own eyes. Yeah. And this whole stats thing is lazy. And people say, oh, we've got to be like...
It's old school, Ian. But it's old school. It's old school what you're talking about. It's evolved the same as football. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's just how football is as well. Football isn't flared up on what it was anymore. Football's crap now compared to what it was.
Because Mavericks, there's no...
Yeah, but exactly. Why? Because it's changed. It's adapted. It's more athletic now. It's more pinpoint.
Yeah.
And the way they look at the players now,
doesn't make it better.
I don't even know why they need a scout. They might as well do it for a bloody AI computer.
1 minute,
which they probably do anyway.
Hold on. With scouting, what data does? Let's say we want a new number 6. What the data would do is say, right, from 50 odd players that meet the criteria, let's narrow it down to 5 or 3. Now go and watch those players. That's what it will do and narrow it down. The weakness of that is you might miss out on a player that didn't get narrowed down because maybe the data dismisses that player because, like you said, Ian, it doesn't actually look at that player under pressure. And maybe that player doesn't meet the criteria, but when it comes to pressure, he might be one of the better ones. For example,
you might as well play Football Manager.
Look, at the end of the day, Liverpool, Klopp's team was built on a data-driven model. So we can't knock it. It does work. The issue is there's got to be a balance. We don't know what the balance is at Spurs.
It is.
But we're told it's more data. We're told it's more data.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's a difference between just doing everything on a data-driven model and going and plucking unknowns and what Klopp and Liverpool did, which was plucking top players out. You know what I mean? Like when we're talking about that Klopp side, they went and bought Alisson, who's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Virgil van Dijk. Every club in Europe wanted Virgil van Dijk. You know, so I think there's got to be that balance. I'm all for
Salah and Firmino were data driven. Salah didn't do well at his previous clubs, but they said, hold on, there's data there that suggests in Klopp's system it might work. Same with Firmino. Yeah. And this is where you need the balance. So, this is where you need. He had a good season at Roma, fair enough. You need that balance of we can find a Salah, we can find a Firmino. There is a reason why Jordan Henderson would work here. The data, but then you're right. At some point, just go and scout a top player to add to this now. Go and get me that Van Dijk. Go and get me that. So this is where the balance needs to lie. Clearly at Spurs, the balance is wrong. Because wages is a big factor in the model. Sure. We do go after players whose wages are going to be low. We deliberately look for that. That's a constraint that holds us back.
Yeah, no, sure.
That, you know.
And the revenue now is even lower than the 42% that's showing in the end of year figures for June 30th, 2024. Because,
Ian, we said this yesterday or whenever it was. We said this, right? If you actually look at what might happen this summer, you're potentially looking at Sonny being sold, hence why he had the contract extension triggered so that we make money, right? Yeah. His wages, he's the highest wage earner at Spurs. So that's going to come off, right? At 200, 190 grand a week, whatever it is. You've got potentially Christian Romero going, who's our second or third highest earner, right? Yeah. That's 2. Timo Werner, who's on 165 grand a week, will be going back. Surely they don't get him a third time.
There's 3 of the main 4. 3 of you.
Right, that's my point. That's my point. And what will happen is the 3 or 4 players that come in will all be on 50 grand, 60 grand. So suddenly Stun's salary has probably covered 4 young up-and-coming players coming in, Daniel Levy goes, oh, the Daniel Levy fans go, God, what a brilliantly run club we are. And the fans that care about watching a football team and being proud of their football team go, we've been shafted again.
Absolutely.
Because whatever player we bring in the summer, going back to Stell's point just now, whatever player we bring in, there will be videos from all of these people going, he's perfect for the way we play. And this is why Spurs need him. Then, as soon as we start doing badly, those people suddenly, the squad's not good enough. Bang on. You told me these people were perfect for Ange Ball. You told me this is that. You got people like Alice. I nothing against her. Seems like a nice girl. She does all these videos about our club, going why this player is perfect for Ange Ball. Sorry, love, you don't support Spurs. We don't even know what Ange Ball is. There's no way you bloody know what it is. There's no way you know that Odeberg coming in is perfect for Ange Ball, right? But this has to stop. We've got to stop doing this. We need to go out old school, like you're saying, Lupo. We need some proper football people. I don't care whether it's a Glenn Hoddle. I don't care whether it's a David Pleat. We need a Tim Sherwood. We need to get proper football people that go out, come back to this club and go, there is a guy playing for, I'm just going to pluck a team. There's a guy playing at left back for Torino. You've got to watch this guy. Do you know what I mean? That's what you need.
Yeah. The other thing we do
is 21-year-olds and they're 30 grand a week.
Exactly. Our fan base, a majority, try and justify every bloody signing and then just take it up another 10 levels. But
the problem is people don't look at these things. They just get carried away. They're enthusiastic. Everybody's so starved of success that they want to build everything up. They want the hope. And I think a lot of it is down to that. Take Solanke. I'll just give you 2 examples of where scouting is completely wrong. Both centre forwards. Solanke had his best year under Iriola last year.
Yeah.
Right.
His only good year.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But do you know what, Dan? If you're buying somebody, I'd rather buy somebody off a good year rather than they've had 2 shit years and a good year 3 years ago, like we did with Werner 5 years ago when he was decent. He's been shit. So I've got no problems. But if you're going to buy Solanke off the back of a really good 19 in 38 Premier League game goal scoring record, then you've got to look at the goals he's scored and the system he plays in. Does he suit Ange Ball? Is Ange's system the same as Iriola's? No, it's not. You have people wingers like Semenya putting balls in for Solanke to run onto, putting balls through channels for Solanke to run onto. That's not how we play. That isn't how he plays. He plays with the inverted fullbacks and the wingers, playing 1-2s to play those little balls inside the fullbacks to get into the area.
I get how he plays.
Across, it's with someone like Johnson or Solanke coming in. That's not how we played last year. The same thing happened with Soldado.
But that is what I said earlier.
He scored 56 goals in 2 years for, was it Sociedad, I think Soldado was playing for.
Valencia.
No, Soldado was at Valencia. He was at Valencia.
How did he get the goals? He had 2 wingers who went outside the fullbacks and pulled the ball in.
No.
Yeah, he did.
It was because he was up front with 2 of them. It was because he had a partner up front. That's why he got the goals, because it was Michael Owen and Emil Heskey.
But we played.
It was nothing to do with the wingers.
Dan, we played inverted wingers. We played Townsend and Lennon on their wrong foots, coming back in with Soldado. So there was absolutely no room. You closed the room, the space that Soldado needed, and the guy flopped. Again, that was 26 million. That was a lot of money in those days. That was,
the thing is, I want to win the show. I do want to win the show. Can I just say this? One thing I will say though about Solanke is I get it, right? And listen, no matter what I think of any player, I will always caveat with the fact that I feel sorry for any player because they have to play for Ange. But it's the moments when I see Solanke and he gets those half chances and he gets the opportunity to get out his feet and shoot, he doesn't look a forward. He doesn't look a goal scorer, right? And again, I sent a video in the group yesterday, didn't I, Lubo, of the Tottenham 9, Wigan 1 game, right? Yeah. And the reason I did that was to show Jermaine Defoe when that boy sniffed the goal was within 30 yards of his foot, right? It was, how can I shift it out my feet and let fly, right? Solanke isn't a goal scorer for me. He had a good year last year, but for me, he's not clinical. He's not a guy where you go.
Target man. He's a target man.
He's not a guy where you go, if he gets 2 chances, he's burying 1. For me,
he had them at Fulham the other Saturday. Exactly.
But look, we will leave it there. Listen, thanks, guys. Really, really good show. Really enjoyed that. Before I go, a user has said Paratici verbal agreement in place with Milan. Yeah, we've seen that. We've covered that. And look, it is what it is. And Lang and Ange for life is my new hashtag. Hashtag Ange and Lang for life. Big up to you, a user. A user came in again and says, Stel, I disagree. Lange, not underwhelming, but shit. I think Stel was just being polite. Jason H came in with a super sticker. Thank you very much, Jason. Much appreciated. And then Aris came in with a super sticker as well. Thank you very much, Aris. I really appreciate all of you. We are only 56 away now from 17K. So if anyone hasn't subscribed, please do subscribe on the way out. Please subscribe to Tottenham Away. Please subscribe to the Hotspur Hood as well. And please follow Lubo for all of the up-to-date information about Archie Gray, what his family did yesterday, where they go for dinner, and what they buy in Sainsbury's. You can get all of that on his X page. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. And guys, 19 days later, we've got a bloody game of football at last. So thanks for coming on, guys. Catch you soon. And as always, Lang out, Levy out, Mun out, Ange out. But come on,
You Spurs.